Hey everybody, I'm John BenderWaffles Aljets, and as a shock to literally nobody, I enjoy collecting video games. I mean, come on, do I really look like I don't do this? And a few of you on my Discord expressed interest in possibly seeing my retro collection, so that's what today's video is. As you can see on the shelves behind me, I do actually have a fairly respectable collection. Sure, it's not as big as some people on YouTube, but I think it's pretty good. So in this video, I'm going to go through, break it down, show you everything that I have as far as games. I might show systems in a later video if there's interest in that. But actually, let's just go ahead and take a look at how they're laid out on my shelves first, and then I'll break them down system by system. Although I might combine some systems together because there are some consoles that I just don't have that many games for. And I'll explain why I don't have that many games for the system when we get to them. So this is the collection as it sits on my shelves. This one over here, this bookshelf, is pretty much all Nintendo, and then I've got like some Dungeons and Dragons and art books and stuff down there. This shelf over here is Xbox, Xbox 360, PlayStation 2, etc, etc, etc. Basically, if it's not Nintendo, it's probably over here. Although I do have some, like, you know, portable games and things of that nature over here as well. Okay, now that you've seen how it looks on my shelves, why don't I start off with the oldest system in my collection, the NES. Now, as far as the NES, I don't really have that many games. Probably because I don't have that big of a connection to the NES. The NES was around during my lifetime, but I didn't have a console until the SNES. So I don't really have any nostalgia for these games. But I do have a few that I felt I should probably own. So first up, we're going to start with actually a Famicom game, and that is Final Fantasy 1 and 2 for the Famicom. This is a combination of Final Fantasy 1 and 2. It is in Japanese, but I play most of my cartridge games on a Retron 5, and with the Retron 5, you can load English translation patches. So I actually have quite a few Japanese import games, especially quite a few Japanese import RPGs. In fact, I think they're all RPGs, now that I think about it. But we'll see more of those when we get onto the SNES. So, Final Fantasy 1 and 2 on the Famicom. Next up is Final Fantasy. Big shocker. The North American version of Final Fantasy. I got this for a pretty decent price a few years back. I just walked into a game store in Salem, Oregon, saw this, I think it was like $10, and couldn't pass it up, so I grabbed it. I actually don't really play the NES version when I play Final Fantasy. I love the first Final Fantasy, don't get me wrong, but I don't usually play the OG NES version. It's just doesn't do much for me. It's a buggy mess is really the problem. So I go for the GBA version usually. Although if I am going to play Final Fantasy on the NES, it's probably going to be Final Fantasy ++. I love collecting reproduction cartridges, be them ROM hacks or bootlegs, whatever. And this is a pretty decent ROM hack that fixes a lot of problems, adds a bunch of new stuff. I actually haven't played this cartridge though, because the Retron 5 doesn't really like ROM hacks or reproductions. It can be a bit picky with what it plays, but I do love the white cartridge, and the Etsy seller that I bought it from did a fantastic job with the artwork and everything like that. I know that it's Yoshitaka Amano's drawing, but just putting it onto the label and formatting it in the right way to make it look actually proper, I think that it's extremely well done. So that's Final Fantasy ++. Next up, we have Metal Gear. So this was actually, I think, the first NES game that I ever bought. When I was in college, I started thinking to myself, you know, I might want to, collect a few games. So I grabbed basically whatever was cheap. And when I bought this, I think it was about 99 cents. It has gone up since then, but I'm not really in the business of selling my games. But this isn't very good. If you're going to play the original Metal Gear, play the one that's on the MSX, I think is the name of the system. It's a Japanese computer system. This one was just, it wasn't a very good port. Next up is a game that pretty much everyone and their grandma has. It's Super Mario Bros. Plus Duck Hunt. This combo cartridge is so common that I've heard people talk about making coffee tables out of them. Seriously, I think this thing is like $5 pretty much anywhere you go. If you have an NES collection, you probably have this. This copy though, fun story, doesn't work. I've tried everything that I could think of to get it to work, cleaning all the contacts, reflowing all the solder points. It just doesn't work. It's borked. But it's here until I replace it, if I ever feel like replacing it. Ooh, the reproduction train keeps a rolling. It's Pokemon Yellow version on NES. This is an oddity. So this is actually a brand new Pokemon game that someone made for the NES. Even though it says it's Yellow version, it's actually not Yellow version. It's not like somebody took the innards of a Game Boy game and slapped it into an NES cartridge. No, it's something new entirely. However, I haven't gotten a chance to play this yet, because again, I play on a Retron, and the Retron does not like this. I am looking into getting additional hardware that will allow me to play this, so maybe I'll do a video on it someday. I don't know. I bought it because it's so weird, and it's a great little discussion piece, and I love it. Something you'll realize just looking through my collection is I just love obscure and weird and very out there things. So this fits the bill perfectly. And finally, yet another game that pretty much anyone who has an NES probably has. It's The Legend of Zelda. This is the Great Cart version, which is apparently harder to find, if I'm not mistaken, because most people have the Gold Cart. Now, there are some people who might even say, oh, it only came in a Gold Cart. That must be a reproduction. No, it's the real thing. It blew me away because every copy that I've ever seen has been gold. So, Great Cart Zelda. And that's all the NES. That's all I have. Now for the SNES, I do have hard plastic cases for these, but I'm going to take them out just to show you the cartridge. But just know that I keep them nice. So let's start off with Alien vs. Predator. This is a port of the arcade beat 'em up. It's decent. I'm not the biggest beat 'em up fan, but I do love me some Alien vs. Predator. Aliens is my favorite movie of all time. So of course I had to grab this. This was probably one of my first SNES games. When I was talking about when I bought Metal Gear, kind of getting into collecting, I started with the NES and the SNES, and I bought this at the same time as Metal Gear. I think when I bought it, it was like $2. Not that pricing really matters. Again, I don't sell my games. Next up, remember how I was saying that I have quite a few Japanese imports? Well, you're going to be seeing that a lot with the SNES, and it starts right here with Chrono Trigger. This is the Japanese version of this beloved RPG. I bought this because this copy was like $4 versus I think when I was looking to buy it, the American version of Chrono Trigger was like 70, I think. I don't really know. It was way beyond my price point. So Chrono Trigger in Japanese, plug it into the Retron, apply the English translation, bada bing, bada boom, I'm playing Chrono Trigger. And plus it's just nice to have. So Chrono Trigger. This game is fantastic. One of the best RPGs of all time. I've only played through it a couple of times. I definitely need to go through it again. And when I do, I'll probably do a video on it. So, Chrono Trigger. And speaking of Chrono Trigger, this is a fun one. This is Chrono Trigger Crimson Echoes. It's a fan-made sort of pseudo-sequel, and I found somebody on Etsy who put it on an actual cart. So, Chrono Trigger Crimson Echoes. I haven't played through this one yet. I intend to at some point. And this is one that does work on my Retron. So, yeah, I can do that. Looks fairly legit. Well done, Etsy seller. Now, this is a reproduction that I actually bought at Portland Retro Gaming Expo. This is Clock Tower, the English translation. This is a sort of point-and-click horror game. I bought it with the intention of doing a video on it for like a Halloween video of some kind, and I might still. I like it. I've played through it at least once. It's actually really spooky for a 16-bit game. You wouldn't think that it would still be scary, but this game manages to do it. Now, growing up, one of my favorite games was Donkey Kong Country. I just absolutely loved it. However, I don't own Donkey Kong Country. I own Donkey Kong Country 2 for some reason. I didn't play this growing up. I didn't play Donkey Kong Country 3 either. But when I set out to start collecting, this game was like $12, I think, something like that. I think at the time it was the most expensive game in my collection. I know that it's a fan favorite. A lot of Donkey Kong fans just love Donkey Kong Country 2. It's pretty good. I like it, although without the big man, I don't know, I don't feel as much of a connection to it. Still though, great game, fantastic, highly recommend. So the first game that I ever played was in 1994 on my cousin's desktop PC, and it was a little game called Doom. Now, obviously, this is the SNES version, but I love Doom. As I said, it was the first game I ever played. I adored this game so much. And fun fact, this is one of like 3, I think, SNES M-rated games. The other 2, I think, are Mortal Kombat, like 2 different versions of Mortal Kombat 3 or something like that. Lovely red cartridge. Totally just sticks out in the collection, but it's Doom. I can't say no to Doom. And the fact that it's running on the SNES is just stupid. So, of course, I have to have it. This version of this game, though, is garbage. Like, enemies on screen are made up of like 12 pixels at any given time. And the controls are just clunky as all hell. This is not the way to play Doom unless you're a masochist. But that being said, I love having it in the collection. And I'm never getting rid of this. This is fantastic. Oh, hey, it's another import. It's Dragon Quest VI. I have never really gotten into the Dragon Quest series. I really want to, hence why I bought this. I've heard good things about both Dragon Quest V and Dragon Quest VI, and when this popped up in my eBay recommendations for like $6 or something like that, I just jumped on it. I actually haven't put any time in on it yet, but I really do intend to. I know that I have a massive backlog like pretty much every retro gamer, but I do prioritize RPGs, so this one will probably get played fairly soon. And speaking of beloved RPG series, it's Final Fantasy III, or 6. 3 in North America, 6 literally everywhere else. This game is fantastic. Final Fantasy VI is often regarded as one of the best, if not the best, in the entire franchise. I kind of disagree. It's really good, don't get me wrong, it's definitely top 5. But I just don't love this one as much as other people. Still though, absolutely fantastic. This is actually my most recent SNES pickup. I don't really collect for the SNES that often, so when I do grab a game, it's probably one that I'd like really want for the collection. And when I was in Oregon just recently, I saw this one. I think it was like $70, and it's in great condition. So I just figured, you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna buy it. And I did. And here it is. And it worked perfect. I know I'm kind of going backwards here, but Final Fantasy V. Now, whereas Final Fantasy VI isn't necessarily one of my favorites, this one is. And by the way, this is an English reproduction. Final Fantasy V didn't actually come out in the US. Not until the PlayStation version. I believe that was the first official release in North America. But this is a very lovely fan translation. Again, white cartridge. So good. Love the label. Guys, Etsy sellers just do great work. Get out there, find the deals, find the great reproductions, and jump on it. But yeah, Final Fantasy V. I adore Final Fantasy V. I love the job system. I love the characters. I know that the story is a little bare bones. It was one of the first Final Fantasies that I actually beat myself, like without a guide or without any help or anything like that. That's probably why I hold it in such high regard. I know that it's actually not really often considered one of the best Final Fantasies, but I think it's one that a lot of people sleep on. So if you get the opportunity, check out Final Fantasy V. It has, in my opinion, the hardest end boss in all of Final Fantasy. Exdeath is a certified jerk. So Final Fantasy V, get in there, kick his ass, and maybe prove me wrong. I don't know. Speaking, though, of underrated Final Fantasy games, it's Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Okay, maybe this one isn't actually underrated. Maybe it's actually rated properly. For those of you who don't know what Final Fantasy Mystic Quest is, when Final Fantasy IV came out, or Final Fantasy II came out in America, it didn't exactly sell well. And so Square Enix was trying to figure out why American audiences weren't into RPGs. And the reason that they came up with was that we were too stupid to understand the games. So they decided, instead of releasing Final Fantasy V here in North America, they instead made us a super dumbed down, super, I wouldn't even say beginner friendly, because honestly, this is too dumb even for beginners. It's just, it takes literally any guesswork out of playing these games. You don't really have to even think. You can just push A through the entire game. And I know that people say that about most JRPGs, but it's absolutely true here. I will be doing a video on this at some point, so wait for a breakdown of that, or check out Pro Jared's got a pretty good video on it. So yeah, it's Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. It's really bad. It's really stupid. So of course I had to have it. Now here's one that is going to hit different for about 99.8% of my audience. It's RPG Sakuru Super Dante. It's RPG Maker. on the Super Nintendo. This actually doesn't have an English translation, so I haven't spent too much time with it. But I bought it for like $2 purely because, as many of you know, I am mostly known as an RPG Maker channel. So, of course, I have to own a Super Nintendo version of that series. As I said, I haven't put in too much time because I don't understand a single thing in this game. I can recognize a lot of things because RPG Maker gonna RPG Maker. Yeah, I just bought it kind of as a lark, just to say, hey, check it out. This is dumb. It's RPG Maker on the Super Nintendo. Also, just goes to show you how long that series has been around for. Copyright 1995. Yeah. As an example of yet another time when I bought the Japanese version of a game as opposed to the English version because of the drastic price difference, it's Seiken Densetsu 2. Oh, what? You don't know what Seiken Densetsu 2 is? It's Secret of Mana. I adore Secret of Mana. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's a action RPG made by Squaresoft. It's part of the Mana series, obviously, which actually just had a collection release a couple of years ago now on Switch, PS4, a couple other things, I think. I have the Switch version. We'll get to that. But I bought this because I think it was something like $40 or $50 cheaper than the English version. So, Seiken Densetsu 2. I don't really have a ton to say about this because everything there is to be said about Secret of Mana has been said on the internet. It's a fantastic time. I absolutely adore the art, the music. Everything about this is just so fantastic. Highly recommend. Check it out. Grab the Japanese copy or whatever copy you can afford. Just do not play the remake. I cannot stress that enough. Don't do it. Now, of course, going hand in hand with that last game, we have Seiken Densetsu 3. This was a game that actually wasn't released in English for pretty much my entire life. Until that Collection of Mana re-release when they finally localized it to English. This used to be known as Secret of Mana 2. Nowadays, it's called Trials of Mana, which is the official name. I bought this before they announced the English localization. This game takes everything that I love about Secret of Mana and just amplifies it. In this game, unlike the first one, you get to choose your characters. You get to choose which one is the primary, which two are the secondary ones, and that defines which story you get. So this game has amazing replay value. On top of just being absolutely brilliant, this has, in my opinion, some of the best pixel art on the SNES. And the music ain't nothing to shake a stick at either. So, Seiken Densetsu 3, Trial of Mana, whatever you want to call it, Japanese card. Oh, and I also have an English translation reproduction card. I actually don't know why I have this, because I can just put in the other one into my Retron and good to go, but it looks pretty. Title's wrong, though. Getting down to the wire with the SNES. Second to last game is Wizardry 5, Heart of the Maelstrom. I actually had to look to see what the subtitle was. This is a C RPG that they ported to the SNES, and it is stupid hard. Maybe I'm just dumb and I don't understand how to play the game, but I can never get very far in this. And I've played other Wizardry games, so I don't understand where my problem is. But what little I have played has been super fun. At some point, maybe I'll really sit down, really hunker down, and really get into this one. But, you know, it is what it is. This is also one of the oldest games in my SNES collection. I bought this along with Metal Gear and Alien vs. Predator. When I bought that first batch of games, I bought this because I recognized the Wizardry name. I've played a Wizardry game on the PS2, which we'll get to. And so I was like, oh, cool. You know, I had a lot of fun with that game. Why not grab this? And it was cheap at the time. It's not cheap anymore. But yeah, Wizardry 5, excuse me. And now we come to the final game on the SNES. Now, you might have noticed a little something about my SNES collection. I don't really have any Nintendo published games. I don't have any Marios on the SNES. I don't have Zelda. I don't have Metroid. I don't have anything like that. I'm not really the biggest Nintendo fan. Even though I grew up with the consoles, I didn't really get into the franchises. No Marios, no F-Zeros, nothing like that. However, there is one Nintendo published game that I adore. Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. Fun fact, this game was the pack-in title with my Super Nintendo. When I got my Super Nintendo, I think it was 95, 95, 96. And it was the Super Nintendo Junior, the like smaller version of the Super Nintendo. And it came with Yoshi's Island. My brother and I absolutely adore this game. We will still to this day talk about the touch fuzzy get dizzy level It's great. Now, I know that a lot of people complain about the crying baby is annoying and it's not really a Super Mario World game and all that, but it doesn't diminish my love for it. Sure, that's about 90% nostalgia, but hey, I love this game. And me loving a Mario game, you know it's got to be pretty good. So yeah, Yoshi's Island. Okay, so next up is the Nintendo 64, and I actually don't have that many Nintendo 64 games. I had the console back in the day. I had it instead of a PlayStation, so you would think that I would have a ton of nostalgia for it. And I do, but for the most part, I've collected the games that I had nostalgia for. So I haven't really had too much of an urge to like run out and get other things. But I feel like I have a pretty decent collection. I've got some really great ones. So let's start things out with 1080 snowboarding. This one actually has a property of Hollywood Video kind of branded into the back. So that's fun. Listen, I don't care about snowboarding. I don't. Extreme sports aren't really my bag, he says as he's about to show off a crap ton of Tony Hawk games. But I played the crap out of this game way back in the day. I remember a friend of my brother's came over and brought over his N64, and he only had like a few games at the time. It was close to the launch, I think. And one of the games that he had was 1080 snowboarding. So to me, the graphics in this game are what made me interested in it. Again, I didn't care about, what it's talking about. I don't care about snowboarding, but I was there for how pretty it looked at the time. Now you realize this game has like 4 polygons, but hey, I loved it. And I loved it enough that when I saw this at a used game store for a few bucks, I picked it up. Have I played it since? No, not really. I popped it into my system at my brother's 30th birthday party a few years back. And I think that was the last time that I played it. And my brother is now 35 years old. So do with that information what you will. Next up is Battlezone Rise of the Black Dogs. This is a sort of like tank fighting game sort of thing. I bought it because I confused it with another tank game on the N64 called like Battle Tanks, I think, that I had a ton of fun with way back in the day. This is another one that I actually picked this up for my brother's 30th birthday so that we would have the N64 there with a bunch of games from our childhood. And again, I mistook this for another game entirely. That being said, it's a good time for about 20 minutes. So Battlezone, Rise of the Black Dogs. Okay, now let's jump way down the alphabet to a game that I actually did play and actually do love. It's Perfect Dark. Now, I don't have a lot of love for games like GoldenEye because I didn't really play that back in the day, so I don't have that nostalgic tie. However, I do recognize that game's impact on video game history, so to honor that, I bought a different game. I bought Perfect Dark. It's made by the same people as GoldenEye, for those of you who don't know. It's made by Rare. And to me, this is just a much more appealing game. Not to say that I dislike Bond. I like Bond. I like Bond a lot. But to me, having a original IP, it just hits different. And to me, like the multiplayer and everything, you could do either or. You're going to have a good time no matter which one you choose. And I just happened to choose Perfect Dark. It also helps that when I got this, it came bundled with the RAM pack for the N64, which is one of those things that is nice to have, and for some games is straight up required. Now, you knew that eventually this franchise was going to appear. It's the first of my many Pokemon games. It's Pokemon Stadium 2, or Pokemon Stadium Gold and Silver in some regions. This used to belong to an ex-girlfriend of mine, and when she moved away back home to her parents, she left some stuff behind, and one of the things that she left behind was Pokemon Stadium 2. Yeah, it's Stadium. It's fantastic. I don't really know what else to say about this. If you like Pokemon, you like Stadium 2. If you don't like Pokemon, you don't like Stadium 2. I don't really have anything to say beyond that. Now, this is probably the most disgusting looking cartridge in my entire collection. This is Pokemon Snap. Now, I don't love Snap as much as most people. To me, it's one of those things where like I had my fun with it for the like hour that it lasted back in the day, and I haven't had the urge to revisit it. I know that some people really love it, but I just don't really care. Though, as I said, this cartridge is absolutely disgusting. It's all grimed up. It's gross. Somebody wrote Pokemon on 2 different sides. Previous owner. It's still got a sticker from Blockbuster Video on the back and someone's name behind the sticker that I can't even read. So yeah, Pokemon Snap. It's here. I have it, I guess. The next N64 game we've got is Quake 2. Yeah, it's Quake 2. I love the Quake series. I've said before that Doom might have been the first game that I ever played, but Quake is the first game that ever made me love games. And yeah, the sequel on N64, it's actually pretty good. It's kind of its own game, if I remember correctly. It's not really Quake 2. It's kind of Quake 2.5, which they did that a lot at this time. I mean, Doom 64 is not a port of Doom. It's its own Doom game. So, you know, kind of similar situation here. You know, I was saying that I really, really like dumb things in my collection, and sometimes I buy stuff just because it's absurd. Well, I can't think of many things more absurd than Resident Evil 2 on the N64. Now, what makes this absurd? On the PlayStation, this is a 2-disc game, and they managed to fit it into 1 cartridge. With the FMVs, the movies are here. The voiceover, it's all here. The fact that this exists is a borderline miracle. So, of course, I have to have it. It's kind of spendy these days, and I spent a little bit more on it than I wanted to, but it's a good piece for my collection. I'm really happy to have it. Maybe someday I'll do a breakdown of this versus the PlayStation version. Maybe. Now, when I think Nintendo 64, there is one game that immediately springs to mind. Star Wars Pod Racer, or Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Everyone calls it Pod Racer, but it's not called that. It's called Episode 1 Racer. But anyways, it's a pod racing game. And I played the ever-loving crap out of this as a kid. It's just a fun racer. Like, even if you remove the Star Wars branding from it and just leave it as just a generic sci-fi racing game, this is still fantastic. I was a Gasgano main. Don't even at me. And still to this day, whenever I see that 4-armed freak in any Star Wars media at all, it gives me the warm and fuzzies. I did rebuy this on the Switch from off of the eShop, so I don't really play the N64 version anymore, but this is definitely one game that I absolutely had to have in my collection. I also have another N64 Star Wars game that just screams Nintendo 64 for me, and that's Star Wars Rogue Squadron. This may very well be my second most played N64 game. This is one that I remember my brother's friend coming over, and he brought over his copy of Rogue Squadron, and I actually got very upset when he had to go home and he took it back with him. So as an adult, of course, I was going to buy my own copy. And yeah, I do also now have it on Steam. So again, like Pod Racer, I don't play the N64 version when I feel like playing Rogue Squadron. You know, it had to go into my collection, and also I found it at a Goodwill for $3.99. So you don't see me complaining. Oh, and there's also Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. I didn't play this one as much as the other 2 Star Wars games, mainly because the controls in this are borderline unbearable. And by borderline, I mean they're busted. They're just gross. But you can say that about a lot of N64 games. This one is just the one that affects me the most. If you're going to play Shadows of the Empire, play the PC version, get some mods for it, and just have it running not terribly. Still, though, had to have it for my collection. Had to have some physical representation of this game that I do remember loving quite a bit as a kid. Also, pretty decent book if you're into the Star Wars Legends stuff. Now, these next 3 games I'm going to talk about all at once because they're kind of the same thing. That is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. Some of you might not have realized that these 3 games that are often, seen as PlayStation properties were released on the N64, especially this one. I owned these 2 as a kid. These aren't my childhood carts, but I had these 2 because, again, I didn't have a PlayStation, but I love the Tony Hawk Pro Skater games. They actually play halfway decent on the N64. You use the D-pad, and then the C buttons work just like the face buttons on a PlayStation controller. So C down is ollie, C right is your grab tricks, C up is your grind tricks, C left is your flip tricks. So yeah, these work fantastic on the N64. They have to do stuff like there's no videos in them, which is a bummer, and they cut the music down, and also they cut the number of tracks down. I think in Tony Hawk 2, I want to say there's like 10 songs, and of those 10 songs, there's only like 30-second versions of the songs or something like that. It's kind of scuffed, but this is the way that I played Tony Hawk 1 and 2 when I wasn't over at my friend Owen's house. So I had to get those. And then Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, this was, if I'm not mistaken, this is the last officially released game for the Nintendo 64. That's why this game, if it's in good condition, which this is very much not in good condition, but if it's in good condition, is kind of stupid expensive. Like, it's like $50-$60 for a game that really no one should want. Because for those of you who don't know, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 was a game on the PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2, Xbox, GameCube. In fact, I think it was a GameCube launch title. I might be mistaken there, though. But yeah, so this is a dumbed down version of the game. They basically took Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 and reskinned it as Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, because it has literally like all the same, the menu systems and everything are all almost identical to this, just with a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 coat of paint. It does have some pretty faithfully recreated versions of the levels. They're out of order in this version. They're also out of order on the PlayStation version, because there was a PS1 version of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. But yeah, it's just, it's kind of scuffed. To steal a word from the youth of today, it is kind of scuffed. But I bought it because the fact that this exists is just so brilliant. And because this version, I don't know if you can see that, is in such rough shape, I decided to pay I think the guy wanted $15-$16 for it or something like that. And so I was like, you know what, sold. This is at Portland Retro Gaming Expo, by the way. Just because I was like, you know what, I just want it to say that I have it. It doesn't have to be spectacular. It does kind of bug me a little bit, and I do sort of wish that its label was in better shape. Maybe at some point I'll make a reproduction label for it. But for now, this is what I got. So it's the Tony Hawk games on N64. And finally, to wrap up the N64, we have Xena Warrior Princess Talisman of Fate. This is a 3D fighting game where you play as characters from the show Xena, and it is bad. Really bad, really not good, but as a kid, I was stupid and didn't know any better, so I played the crap out of it. It's made by Titus, which I'm not mistaken is the company that made Superman 64, and I should have known better. So the next 3 Nintendo systems I'm actually going to do all together because I just don't have very many games for them. And the reason largely is the fact that after the N64, I actually jumped over to being a PlayStation and Xbox kid. Because after the N64, I got my own PS2, and then I went out and bought my own Xbox. So the GameCube was never really something that I cared for, and that also applies to the Wii and, of course, the Wii U. But the Wii U is something else entirely that I'm going to talk about when we get to that point. But for now, let's start off with GameCube games. Pretty much every GameCube game that I have, I bought all at once. When I was in college, I bought a GameCube and some GameCube games at a GameStop because they were clearing out their GameCube selection, because at this time, like, the Wii was coming to an end. Hell, I think the Wii U was out at this time, or was getting close to being out at this time. So I figured, you know what, I'll pick up these games while I can. I'll just grab some, I'll just grab some GameCube games because there are some like fun party things on there. And when you're in college, you want to have some fun. But that doesn't explain why I bought Bloody Roar Primal Fury. It's a 3D fighting game and it is not good. This is like if furries made a fighting game, because every single character has like an animal form. It's weird. Bloody Roar is one of those series that, like, it used to be well known, but these days I don't even think they make anymore. It's at least kind of pretty on the GameCube, I guess, and I got it for, pocket change. I think I bought this just because it was cheap and I wanted more GameCube games. So Bloody Roar Primal Fury. I haven't even cared enough to take the sticker off. I do have some games that I've left the sticker on for, and if I've done that, it's probably because I just didn't really want to bother with it, or I was afraid that it was going to completely mess up the case. That's not what happened here. I just didn't care. However, you will see some games here in a little bit where there's a sticker left on, that is left on because I know for a fact that it is going to leave a smudgy, gross mess. And when given the choice between having a smudgy, gross mess on a case or having a price sticker, I'm going to leave a price sticker. One of these days, I'll probably get some Goo Gone and take them off, but Bloody Roar Primal Fury. Woo! Next up, we have Prince of Persia, Sands of Time. I adore the Prince of Persia trilogy. These 3 games, Sands of Time, Warrior Within, and Two Thrones, don't come at me with Forgotten Sands or the Prince of Persia reboot. I believe I saw this for like next to nothing. And at the time, I didn't actually own Sands of Time because I had Warrior Within and Two Thrones on PS2, but I didn't have Sands of Time. So I picked this up, and I have proceeded to really not play the GameCube version because now I own them on multiple systems. Yeah, Prince of Persia Sands of Time. It's a fantastic platformer, and if you have not checked out this era of Prince of Persia, this was Ubisoft before they just became the House of Assassin's Creed. In fact, Assassin's Creed originally started off as a Prince of Persia game. But if you enjoy like parkour platforming or anything like that, or, you know, platforming puzzles, the Prince of Persia games, fantastic way to go. They also have some pretty decent beat 'em up mechanics as well. You know, I loved Rogue Squadron on the N64. You just know I had to go ahead and get Rogue Leader Rogue Squadron 2 on the GameCube. It's pretty much just more Rogue Squadron, only on GameCube. It features the voice of Dennis Lawson, the original Wedge Antilles. It's a fantastic game. It's a 3D flight sim, just like Rogue Squadron. This one, I believe the first level is the Death Star Trench Run. That's pretty heavy. But yeah, it's Rogue Leader. I don't have a ton to say about it. It's fantastic. I enjoy it. If I'm going to play the GameCube, it's probably going to be this. Holy smokes! It's a nondescript white box. So this is a fun story. The game that's in here is actually Mario Kart Double Dash. And the reason why it's in a nondescript white case is because if I flip the white case around, it is actually Tony Hawk's Underground, the player's choice version. So what happened was when I went in and bought my GameCube from GameStop, as I said, they were liquidating all of their GameCube stuff. And I went and bought Underground because I love Tony Hawk Underground. It's my favorite Tony Hawk game. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to buy that. And I remember I looked at Double Dash, but I think it was like $50 even then. And so I was like, you know, I want some Mario Kart because obviously I'm buying this for a party system thing, but I'm not spending that much money. I'll just buy Underground and be good. So I went up, took the cases up, got the games, left. When I got back to my dorm, I opened up Tony Hawk's Underground because I went to go play it, and the disc that was in there was Mario Kart Double Dash. And instead of going back to the GameStop and telling them of their error, I saw it as a windfall for myself, walked in there, and instead bought the other copy of Tony Hawk's Underground that they had, which actually worked out for me because this is a non-player's choice. I have 2 Tony Hawk's Underground cases, only 1 disc, and a free, basically, Mario Kart Double Dash. Now, I have told this story to GameStop employees since, kind of as a funny lark, and a lot of them kind of just go, that sucks for those guys, but I mean, you know, that's good for you. So I don't really feel bad about it. I know that some people might say that it's stealing, but you know what? I was in college and I don't have a lot of money. So yeah, that's how I got Mario Kart Double Dash. I'm kind of paying for it now though, because now it's just like, what is this? What is this? And it bothers me to not have the case and the artwork and the manual and all that stuff. So as I said, I guess I'm kind of paying for it. Still, I got my Underground fix. Don't play Underground on GameCube. Play it on any of the other systems it came out on. Came out on, in North America, it came out on PS2 and Xbox, as well as like GameCube or Game Boy Advance and a few other things. And then I believe in Australia, it came out on PC. Play it on any of those. Don't play it on GameCube because it controls a lot. There's a lot of good things to be said about the GameCube controller. Being able to play Tony Hawk is not one of them. I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm used to a perfect diamond layout for the buttons, but it just doesn't work for me with that weird GameCube controller. So I don't play this version. Now we skipped around a little bit, so I guess we'll go back in the alphabet. But the game that I bought a GameCube for, again, it's meant to be a party system, so of course I had to get Super Smash Bros. Melee. I'm not a Smash Bros. Fan. I'm not really into the series. I don't have Smash Bros. Ultimate. I don't have Brawl. I don't have the N64 version. This is the only Smash Bros. I have. And I know that a lot of people are like, well, that's the one to have. It's the best one. But I just don't really care about Smash Bros. That being said, this is good fun. You know, good for an afternoon or whatever. If I have friends over, I might play it for an hour or two, and then it goes back on the shelf and it sits there for months and months and months and months, and I don't even think about it. It is kind of funny though that I got it for $14.99. Compare that to today's prices, and yeah, it doesn't cost $14.99 anymore. And my final GameCube game is in a nondescript GameStop case. Oh, I think I'm gonna throw up. It's X2 Wolverine's Revenge. It was $2.99. That's why I bought it. It's like a 3D beat 'em up. It's not very good. So that was the GameCube games. I mean, I guess I do have the Game Boy Player startup disc, which, fun fact, the case that this came in, that's the Japanese GameCube case. They all came in this like semi-clear, smaller case, and then their games had like a slip sleeve over top of them. So if you've ever wondered what Japanese GameCube cases are like, just pick up a Game Boy Player case. Although maybe don't do that because this is really expensive now. Like most things on the GameCube, actually. Now the next game I'm going to talk about is my one and only Wii game. Samurai Warriors 3. I love the Warriors series, as you're about to find out. And so when I saw this, knowing full well that this was a Wii exclusive for some reason, I decided to pick it up. I think it was like $15 or so. This is a fairly recent pickup. Like, this is within the last few weeks I picked this up. I actually haven't even played it yet, but I imagine it probably plays like a Warriors game. Yeah. Also, can anyone explain to me why this is a Wii exclusive? Like, if someone from Koei Tecmo is watching this video, why? None of the other games were on Wii. Hell, the Extreme Legends version of this game wasn't even on Wii. Whatever. It's an interesting little oddity, and as a fan of the franchise, I had to have it. Now we get into the system nobody loves. It's Wii U. This is Arkham City Armored Edition. So I actually am fascinated by the Wii U and fascinated by its failure. So I have gone on my way to pick up, whenever I find a cheap Wii U game, I will pick it up. And so I grabbed Arkham City Armored Edition. I like the Arkham City games. I'm not going to play this version. It's basically just Arkham City, except Catwoman and Batman are in different, like more armored looking suits. And then there's some Wii U like gamepad functionality, but it is not necessary. But yeah, it's Arkham City. If you're watching this video and you haven't played Arkham City, what rock have you been living under for the last like 10 or 12 years? Because the Arkham games are critically beloved. So, of course, I had to get the Wii U version. Same with Arkham Origins. I got this one for $5. And this is an example of a sticker that I haven't taken off because I know that it's going to leave grossness. This particular store, the stickers that they use, almost seem like they were put on by the gods. They just are the biggest pain in the ass to take off. So if you see like a huge price sticker like that on one of these games, it's probably from that store or that store's like sister store. But yeah, so Arkham Origins, it's the Arkham game that they want you to forget. Even to the point that when they released like the Arkham series compiled on like PS4 and stuff, Arkham Origins wasn't included. And yeah, I know that it's not made by Rocksteady. It's made by, Warner Brothers Montreal, I believe. Yeah. So it's considered like a side thing, but it's still an Arkham game. Like, it plays like an Arkham game. It's just a prequel to all the Arkham games. It's a good one, though. I think that people sleep on Arkham Origins. Maybe just don't play the Wii U version. All that being said, there's no reason not to play the Wii U version, I suppose. It's decent. Doesn't look bad. Runs well. Arkham Origins on Wii U. Hey, look. It's a Zelda game. Kind of. It's Hyrule Warriors. As I said, I love the Warriors games. So a Wii U exclusive Warriors game. Well, exclusive Warriors game. Had to pick it up. I picked this one up for, I think it was $15. Again, whenever I see like a cheap Wii U game, I pick it up. This actually might be the most expensive game in my Wii U collection. That is saying something. I bought this again because I love Warriors games, and honestly, I don't hate Zelda. Like, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy Zelda. So I am familiar with the franchise. So I picked this up knowing full well that I would probably have a pretty good time with it, and I have. I put in a few hours on it. It's pretty good. People have been screaming for them to release a Grand Theft Auto game on a Nintendo console for generations at this point. But people have forgotten that we've basically already gotten one. It's Lego City Undercover. It's a free roaming, like, action Lego game. Admittedly, you're playing as a cop as opposed to a pure criminal, but you can still like take cars, run stuff over. I don't think you're running people over, but you can like break through stuff and they explode into blocks. And it's a Lego game, so it has that Lego sense of humor that you would expect. It's fun though. I actually bought this one sealed off of eBay for I think like $12. It is a Nintendo Select, so you know it was the cheaper re-release anyways. But yeah, I had fun with it for the brief amount of time that I played it. And I will point out that the character you play as is named Chase McCain, which is the most like 70s buddy cop show name I've ever heard. I adore Mass Effect. Like, it's probably my favorite series of all time. I can sit down and play the Mass Effect trilogy literally whenever, literally wherever, and still have a good time. Even on the Wii U. This is Mass Effect 3 Special Edition. Special Edition basically just saying, hey, we came out like a year after every other console, and we have gamepad support. I don't even think it has the DLC. No, it doesn't say anything about having all the previously released DLC. So it's just kind of Mass Effect 3, except like your teammate orders are on the gamepad, which is actually pretty nice. This is the Wii U game that I've played the most. It's Mass Effect 3, which, hot take, probably my favorite Mass Effect. Mass Effect 2 is really, really good. Don't argue with me, please. Or do. Comments are really good for the YouTube algorithm. So when I bought my Wii U, I was at Portland Retro Gaming Expo, and I was looking through cheap games, and I did see one game that caught my eye, mainly because my buddy Michael, who was with me, saw it and went, get that game. You would love it. Knowing full well that I wouldn't love it. But I called his bluff and picked it up. It's Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE. This is a weird game. I actually haven't played it. I popped it in to make sure that it works, and that's it. But I know that it's beloved. It has something to do with Fire Emblem and something to do with Persona. That's all I got for you. It's anime as fuck, boy. It was released on the Switch, so it was popular at least. One of these days I'll sit down and play it. Maybe. I don't know. It looks interesting. I think it was like $25. So this actually is the most expensive game in my collection. Sorry, Hyrule Warriors. And my final Wii U game is Zombie U. I bought this sealed for $5. It's a first-person survival horror game on the Wii U. It's okay. Okay, so next up we have the Nintendo Switch. Now, this one is going to be long because it's probably the system that I have the most games for. The Switch is one of those systems that I kind of just buy games for it. If it's something where like I like that game and I want it portably, I buy it. So there's a lot of like re-releases or just portable versions of games in here. There's also a lot of games that I bought just cause it looked interesting. The perfect example of that is 1971 Project Helios. It looks like it's like a CRPG turn-based strategy kind of game. I haven't played this yet, so I don't really know anything about it. I bought this because I'm pretty sure it was on sale at GameStop, and I think I was there for other things, and I just saw this and it looked intriguing, so I picked it up. So 1971. These next two I'm going to put together because same series, and I'm trying to speed through this one a little bit faster. Otherwise, this video is going to be like 8 hours long. So Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered and Assassin's Creed the Rogue Collection or Rebel Collection. Sorry, same difference. I love Assassin's Creed 4. Black Flag is one of my favorite games in the franchise. It's actually the last one that I played to completion. After that, I kind of was like done with Assassin's Creed. I've always been intrigued by Assassin's Creed Rogue. So when I saw that both of the games came together and I could play them portably, heck yeah. And then, you know, Assassin's Creed 3, I like this game a lot more than some people. It's not the best, but I don't hate it like some Assassin's Creed fans seem to. So yeah, came out on Switch, figured why not? I think I saw it at like $20, so I grabbed it. Now, as a fan of RPGs, of course I had to grab Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition. Well, Baldur's Gate and Baldur's Gate 2 Enhanced Edition when it came out. I already have these on the PC, but I picked them up purely for the portability of it because, I mean, Baldur's Gate, wherever I go, that sounds awesome. I played these games so much as a kid. It was probably my first real introduction to Dungeons and Dragons was through the first Baldur's Gate. So of course I was happy to see it redone, remastered, enhanced, and all that, and released on the Switch. I remember when I saw that it was coming out on Switch, I was like, I'm gonna get a physical copy, and it wound up being a little bit harder than I expected because they didn't print many of these apparently. But I have it. BioShock Collection. I really, really like BioShock Infinite, and the other two are okay. I grabbed this at a GameStop for like $20 brand new, which apparently that is cheap for this, but I have it. Portable BioShock Infinite just sounds great to me, so why would you not want that? I absolutely adore the Burnout games. Burnout 3 is my favorite. Burnout Revenge or whatever isn't that great in my opinion, but Burnout Paradise is really, really good. I am a huge fan of the Road Rage game type, which is basically you just like drive around and you're trying to take out all these cars and you have to take out a certain number of them. To me, that's the most fun. That and Crashes, but you know, Crash mode after Burnout 3 got kind of neutered and then just disappeared. But of course, the idea of having Burnout portable, and I know that there were some like PSP versions and they're decent, but it's the full console experience portably. Why would I not want that? Plus, I think it was like $20. You know what else I really love? Civilization 6. Okay, I don't actually love Civilization 6 that much. I'm a big fan of Civilization 4 and 5. 6, there was just some things about it that just didn't work out for me. And even Civilization 5, some of the systems weren't as good as Civ 4. I think Civ 4 was the height of the series. But the opportunity to take Civilization with me wherever, I'm not going to not do that. Especially considering that Civilization games can take like 9, 10, 12 hours. Being able to like get up and do things and go places while I'm still playing Civilization and not being a hermit living in a cave the entire time sounds great. So Civilization 6 on the Switch. Remember how I was talking about Seiken Densetsu 2 or Secret of Mana and I mentioned the collection of mana? Well, it's there's a physical on the Switch and I have it. So fun story, I actually bought this twice. I bought a copy from Amazon, got it in the mail. I remember having it. I opened it. Everything was great. And then I closed up the case and I set it down someplace in my house and then it disappeared. And even after moving out of that house, I never found it. I don't know where it went. So I had to rebuy it. Also from Amazon. But now I have it and I treasure it and I hold it and I love it. And its collection of mana is so good. Final Fantasy Adventure, Secret of Mana, and Trials of Mana. Final Fantasy Adventure was... that was what it was called here in America. It was a Game Boy game, but it was actually the first Mana game. So if you played Final Fantasy Adventure, you have played a Mana game and didn't even know it. But these games are fantastic. As I said, Trials of Mana probably has the best pixel art on the SNES. And Secret Mana isn't far behind. So if you don't want to pick up like old carts or whatever, this is a great way to play it. In fact, this is the way that I would recommend to play it. Of course, if you want to play Trials of Mana, you could also just play the remake. Unlike the remake of Secret of Mana, which was a flaming pile of garbage, this is actually really good. And in fact, if you have never played Trials of Mana or Seiken Densetsu 3, and you decided that you wanted to play the remake, and that was the way that you wanted to do it, honestly, I think that's a pretty solid way to go. I mean, it looks like a budget game, which it kind of is. It released not at full price. But it's a fantastic game and you can get it on Switch. I think it's on PS4 and Steam. No love for Xbox, I'm pretty sure, but great game. Highly recommend. I don't actually know why I have this. So this is Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. I don't hate Crash. I just never had any connection to Crash. I didn't play Crash back in the day. So I don't know why I decided to get the remakes. It's good. It's really good. I feel like you don't need me to tell you that because I feel like the internet has told you that. But yeah, so it's Crash Insane Trilogy. If you like platformers, you'll probably really like that. Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen is a game that I feel like too many people slept on. And I feel like Capcom thought that too many people slept on it too, because it's been re-released like 6 times, including this Switch release. It's a fantastic kind of action RPG-y sort of thing. Kind of like imagine, the best way that I can describe it is imagine if the combat systems from like Dark Souls had a baby with Skyrim, and the child didn't have the difficulty of the Souls games. Yeah, it's good. It's fun. If you really like RPGs, I feel like this is a good one that you should totally check out. So Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen gets my recommendation. The first of the Switch imports. It's the Dragon Quest compilation. It's Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 in their remade form, which graphically is not the best. But yeah, I had to import this from Japan. So fun little quirk of the Switch is that it's region free. And if you put in a game from another region, then what your Switch is set to, you can play the version from your region, provided that it came out, which these games did come out in North America. They were eShop only. They didn't have a physical release to my knowledge. So when I put this card in, it just loads up the English version so I can perfectly play these games, and it's great. So I wanted this just because, I mean, to me, this feels like the kind of thing that is going to be sought after. Like, I feel like someday someone is going to be like, you know what? I really, really want the Dragon Quest collection on Switch physical. So let's try to grab it. And so I figured, you know what? I'm going to grab it when I can, when it's a little bit easier. I imported it from PlayAsia, and I'm really happy that I did. Dragon Quest Builders 2 is a game that I'm a little bit salty about, honestly. So I love the first Dragon Quest Builders. Love, love, love it. I bought it on the eShop, the Nintendo eShop. It was one of those things where like I bought it just randomly. Like I was just like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's grab this. And so I bought it and I started playing it and I fell in love with it. And I'm salty about this because I didn't get the physical copy of the first game. So I made sure that as soon as I saw Dragon Quest Builders 2 physical for the Switch, I grabbed that shit. And someday I'm going to get Dragon Quest Builders 1 physical. Yes, I'll be that idiot who owns it digitally and physically. But until then, I just have the second game, which is good too. I like this one as well. It's Doom 64. It's real good. You should play this. You probably aren't going to be able to get the physical copy unless you pay exorbitant amounts of money, because this is a limited run release. I've got a few of those, so you'll see them. But you can buy it on the eShop, and it's really, really good. This is a game that I feel like a lot of people back in the day didn't think anything of, because when you see the title Doom 64, you just think, oh, it's just a port of Doom to the Nintendo 64. Big whoop. But no, this is an entirely new Doom game, to the point that a lot of people have called this the Doom 3 that we didn't get. And yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate way of putting it. And actually, apparently, if I'm not mistaken, this is now in canon with Doom Eternal. So kind of important, hence why it was released at roughly the same time. And I love that there is a Switch game out today called Doom 64. There's a modern game that has 64 in the title. Love it. And as a big Doom fan, I of course had to get the limited run physical release, which comes with a bunch of goodies, including a book and all kinds of stuff. If you care at all about collecting for games, at least pay attention to what's going on with limited run. Maybe don't necessarily jump on every single release. I know I certainly haven't, but there are some real choice games that are getting physical releases that wouldn't otherwise. So if you're a fan of any of them, you got to jump on it. I actually just ordered, as of the recording of this, my most recent order, I pre-ordered Quake, because love Quake, for the Switch, physical, and Blood Rain Fresh Supply or something like that. It's like a 2D beat 'em up Blood Rain game. So I've got a few other like outstanding orders that are coming. So, but Doom 64, really, really good and limited run, great service. So fun fact, this was one of the first games I got with my Switch and is still probably my most played game on the Switch. It's the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. I know, meme, Skyrim runs on everything. There's an Alexa version of Skyrim, but you know, the idea of being able to Fus Roda people off of cliffs from literally anywhere in the world on top of a cliff myself, that sounds fantastic. So of course I had to grab it. It's not my preferred way to play Skyrim. I'm going to play modded all to hell on the PC, but every once in a while I'll pop this in, just, you know, play for a couple hours or something and just have a good time and then set it down again and play some more at another date. You know, happens all the time. When I'm bored and I don't know what to do and I've got my Switch, odds are I'm probably going to pop in Skyrim and, you know, run through some dungeons. Final Fantasy X is my favorite Final Fantasy. So, of course, I have the HD remaster on the Switch. Now, I really, really wish that this was an imported version. So this has Final Fantasy X and X-2 included in the package, but the bummer thing is, at least in North America, Final Fantasy X-2 is a download, and 10 is the only one on the cartridge, which, I mean, I like 10 a whole lot more than I like 10-2, but I do like 10-2. So I'd like to be able to preserve it in the future. Most of the time, like when I'm buying a game physically, it's because like I would like to be able to preserve it for the future. But the Japanese version, if I'm not mistaken, had both games on the cartridge. So maybe someday, if I get a wild hair up my ass, I will import the Japanese version. But until then, I've got this. Love having it portably. It's so great. As I said, favorite Final Fantasy. And if you disagree with me, you're wrong. You're just wrong. This is a great game. Do you know what's not as great as that, though? Final Fantasy 12. I want to like Final Fantasy 12. I really do. I just can't. The battle system just rubs me the wrong way. I'm sorry, I like traditional Final Fantasy. I like the turn-based active time, like CTB from Final Fantasy X is my favorite system, but I do really love the ATB battle system. And this just, this was the beginning of its march towards more action RPG routes, which I'm just not the biggest fan of. Call me a stick in the mud, but Final Fantasy 12 doesn't do it for me nearly as much. I do like the story, but beyond that, this isn't really for me. And that's okay. You know what else isn't really for me? Fire Emblem Three Houses. I should love this game because it has everything that I love about video games. It has, tactical RPGs, which I adore. It has, the whole like party romance system sort of thing in line with like, Mass Effect has. Like I should really, really like this. But for some weird reason, I have tried to play this game like 6 times. And every time I will play it for like 4 or 5 hours and I'll be like, yeah, I'm having fun. And then I'll go do something else and I won't come back. And I don't know why. Someday, Fire Emblem Three Houses. And all of your waifus. I have actually spent more time playing Fire Emblem Warriors than I have Fire Emblem Three Houses. It's a Warriors game. Of course I was going to grab it. What are you, silly? So here's a fun fact about me that many of you might not know. I love movies. I especially love horror movies, and especially slashers. Slashers is my favorite subgenre of horror. So Friday the 13th, the game on Switch, right up my alley. I actually have only played like 3 or 4 rounds of this because playing this on Switch hurts. This is very much this it's a PC game. You should probably play this on PC. But I grabbed it because it's good to have like a physical, it's like something for it as opposed to just having my Steam library. But yeah, so Friday the 13th, the game, really good game. I know that like a lot of people are like, just play Dead by Daylight. No, I want to be killed by Jason, or I want to be Jason. Like, yeah, sure, Freddy and Ghostface and all them are in Dead by Daylight. And maybe if Cunningham and what's-his-face and everybody involved with that can get their head out of their ass in regards to the lawsuit around Friday the 13th, maybe someday we might see Jason jump into Dead by Daylight, in which case I might not have any reason to play this. But until then, I've got this. So I don't really care for anime. Like, it's not really my thing. But this game is anime as fuck. This is Gal Metal World Tour Edition. It's like a music rhythm game, which is why I bought it. I really, really enjoy music rhythm, and it was also like $5, brand new. Because I guess this game did not sell well. But I grabbed it because it looks kind of interesting, and as I said, I like music rhythm. Basically, the story of this game is that you are you're a male student and a female student get combined into one person. You're basically you play as like this girl who has a boy in her mind, and the boy was a drummer, if I remember correctly, and so you're invited to like join this all-girl group, this all-girl metal band, and you're gonna play drums, and you use the power of metal to fight aliens. That's amazing. That right there makes me want to play this game. And I have. And it's decent. That's the best that I can say about it. This isn't really so much a game as like a tool set, but this is Game Builder Garage. It's a game creation tool. It's meant to basically teach kids like fundamentals of programming and things of that nature. It's not really anything like you can't take this and then make you know, something that you're going to release on the eShop. Like, Game Builder games can only be played by people who have Game Builder Garage. But, you know, it's fun in its own way to like tinker around, play with some stuff. It's probably the easiest way to make games on the Switch. It's just that they aren't going anywhere outside of your save game. But it's fun. I think that it's worth picking up at like $30, especially if you've got a young kid who might be interested in game design. This is a good place to start. That's my really quick review on that. I actually bought this to do a full review, and I don't think I'm going to. So that's all that I really have to say about Game Builder Garage. It's good. This is 100% a game that I bought because I wanted it portably. This is House Flipper. It's a game where you buy houses, you renovate them, and then you sell them. Buy, renovate, sell. I reviewed this as part of my quickie review series when it was on the PC, and the PC version is more fully featured. So if you like have never played House Flipper, play it on the PC. It's you know, you've got all the DLC and everything there, and it's just easier control wise. But being able to like, you know, putt around in House Flipper whenever I've got like a free 20 minutes or whatever, it's decent experience on the Switch. So maybe not the best way to play the game, but I don't see a problem with it. So yeah, that's why I have it. Oh, hey, another import. This time I imported from Europe. This is Ion Fury, which actually did get a limited run release. So I suppose I could have just waited for that, but I got this before that. So Ion Fury is a game that was made using the Build engine. For those of you who don't know what the Build engine is, the Build engine is the game engine that powered Duke Nukem 3D, Shadow Warrior, Redneck Rampage, Blood, and a few other things that aren't really worth noting. So it's a really old engine, like heyday of boomer shooters. And they made a new game that came out in 2018, I believe. And you play as Shelly Bombshell Harrison as she's trying to run around and blow dudes away and trying to stop the evil, what is his name? Heskel, Dr. Heskel, as he's doing bad guy things. This is your traditional no holds barred boomer shooter goodness, top to bottom. And I wanted a physical copy on the Switch, although to be honest with you, I don't fully understand why, because if I'm gonna play this game, say it with me now, I'm gonna play it on PC. But you know, nothing wrong with having it portably too. When I bought my Switch, I bought two games at the time. It was Skyrim and this one. This is Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle. You probably heard of it. I actually really love this game. I, as I've said in the past, like tactical RPGs or tactical strategy games. And so this is right up my alley. It's like baby's first XCOM, basically. If you own a Switch, you should probably own this game. I think I've seen them brand new for like $15 now. So no real excuse. And it's a good time. I actually haven't beaten this though, because the final boss is unfairly hard. So one of these days I will sit down and beat it. But outside of that, good time. I really am looking forward to the sequel. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I don't really have anything to say about this. This is one of those things where if you have a Switch, you probably have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. If you don't, you probably just don't have friends. I bought this purely for the stupidity of the fact that this is Mortal Kombat 11 on the Switch. It looks awful. This is not the way that you should play Mortal Kombat 11. The cutscenes look great because they're pre-rendered. And then the moment you get in game, to say that it looks like PS2 graphics would be an insult to PS2 graphics. It looks bad. LGR has a video where he plays Doom 3 on like a Voodoo 2 graphics card. It kind of looks like that. So if you want an idea of how this looks on the Switch, go watch that video. Because it kind of has the same energy at the very least. But I bought it because I'm just like, you know what? What is the stupidest way that someone can play Mortal Kombat 11? And it's on the Switch. That's how you do it. I know nothing about Mutant Year Zero Road to Eden. I bought this game brand new for like $10. That is literally why I picked it up. I'm pretty sure it's a tactical strategy game or like turn-based strategy game or something like that. But this is the Ultimate Edition. It has all the DLC, I guess. I'll play it someday. It's definitely on my list. My time at Portia or Portia or however the hell you say that is kind of, it's kind of Stardew Valley in 3D sort of ish. It has like the same sort of thing where like you do farming and you do crafting and a little bit like that. Although this one has a little bit more of a focus on mining than Stardew Valley does, but it's very much in that realm of like Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon. I don't know why I was spacing on Harvest Moon. It's that kind of game, and having it physically on the Switch is just nice. There's also an eShop release, and of course you can get it on Steam, and I think it's on PS4, maybe Xbox One. Don't quote me on that. Hey, it's an import, but I didn't mean for it to be an import. It's Neverwinter Nights. This is kind of the same situation with Baldur's Gate. I love this game. Grew up playing it a lot. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to get it on Switch. And for some reason, when Amazon sent me the game, they sent me the European version, hence the PEGI 16 rating. Also, the binding it's like a bold font, so that kind of drives me a little nuts. But I love Neverwinter Nights. It's another like, CRPG, uses Dungeons and Dragons as a base. It's good. I don't really need to say much about Neverwinter Nights because it's an old enough game that if you haven't played it at this point, you might not ever. But if you have played it, you know all about this. But it's a good game. I really love it. And check it out. One of the most beautiful games from the PS3 era. It's Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch. Right? Did I get that title right? Yes, nailed it. It's kind of like if Studio Ghibli did Pokemon, is the best way I've ever heard it described. You you have your character, but then you also get like little monsters who fight with you. I haven't beaten this before. I played it on PS3 and I got a little ways into it and then I stopped. And when I saw that it was coming to Switch, I was like, you know what? That screams Switch. That is a game that belongs on Switch. So I grabbed it. And one of these days I will finish this game. But until then, I'm just going to sit here with all my memories of how pretty it looks. During the congressional hearing on video game violence back in the early 90s, the hearings that would eventually lead to the formation of the ESRB, at the time, President of Nintendo of America, Howard Lincoln, or Vice President or President Howard Lincoln, held up a copy of the game Night Trap, or a cover, or the copy of the cover of Night Trap, I mean, and said, "Trash like this will never appear on a Nintendo console." Until the Switch, apparently, because this is Night Trap, the limited run version of the physical, of the like remaster of Night Trap. I got this at Portland Retro when I was at that convention. Limited run had a booth, and I walked up and they had one copy of Night Trap left. And I snagged it, and as I was walking away, the guy was like, "No, really, that was our last copy. Like, we don't have any others." That turned out to be untrue. They found a few others in their warehouse, and I believe they gave them away. But either way, this is kind of a harder to find physical copy these days, but I love it. Night Trap is just so stupid. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's an FMV game that first appeared on the Sega CD. Basically, you work as like you're a member of the team SCAT is what the team is called. And you're monitoring this house where there are these like high school girls that are being attacked by vampires, and you have to trigger traps in the house to stop the vampires from attacking the girls and all that sort of stuff. It's absurd and it's cheesy, and I love it. So good. Definitely worth checking it out. As I said, it's on the eShop, and it's also on pretty much every console, period. Or just play the Sega CD version. Actually, don't do that. Don't do that. Like this, the video is much cleaner, and you can actually see what's going on. So I have two cases for this game. This is the Outer Worlds on Switch. And the reason why I have two cases, remember how I told you a story back when I was talking about GameCube where they put the wrong game into the case? Well, they did that to me again. I went and I bought the Outer Worlds from a GameStop. And when I got it home, I was like, yes, I'm going to play the Outer Worlds. This is going to be so stupid because this is another game that probably shouldn't be on the Switch. But I was excited because I was like, I'm going to play some grade A Garbo. And I opened it up, and it was the Oddworld collection, which had came out like the day before. So I talked to a friend of mine who works for a GameStop, and they were like, yeah, that sucks for them. Just go buy the Outer Worlds again. So I did. And so I have no case for Oddworld collection, two cases for the Outer World. Outer Worlds. There's plural there, John. So one of these days I'll print off the artwork for the Outer World collection and have that. But I've got 2 cases for the Outer Worlds now. Panzer Dragoon is one of those games that is kind of notorious for being hard to get a hold of. So of course, when I saw this limited run release in Best Buy, because yes, Best Buy will occasionally get special versions of limited run releases, I had to snag it. It's kind of like a rail shooter sort of game. I haven't spent too much time with Panzer Dragoon, which I feel is probably going to get me eviscerated in the comments, but I bought it with the intention of playing it. I'm like, you know what? This might be my opportunity to properly play this game. So I grabbed it and I'm going to jump on it. And having it physical just makes it all the better for me. Hey, look, everybody. It's a Pokemans. This is Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. I chose Eevee because, fun fact, Eevee is my favorite Pokemon of all time. That might be the most basic bitch answer when someone asks what's your favorite Pokemon, but I don't care. I love Eevee. Eevee is so goddamn cute. And the fact that I can have an entire party made up of Eevees and still have like great type coverage because it can evolve into all these different types. Fantastic. Now, if you were like, John, what's your favorite Pokemon that isn't Eevee? It'd be Espeon. So yeah, I really like Eevee. I don't dislike this game as much as some people in the Pokemon fandom do. I've played through this game multiple times. I'm probably going to play through it again here shortly. I am a Gen 1er, so it's kind of to be expected. But this is a fun turn your brain off kind of game. I don't really have to think when I'm playing this. Mainly because like I know the Kanto region better than I do my own face. So I don't really have to think too much about it. And plus on top of that, like the systems are so dumbed down and everything that it's real easy. But I still have fun with it. I bought the version that came with the Pokeball controller. So, you know, my first playthrough, I had a Mew on my party, which was pretty great. I was pretty stoked about that. It was like an extra like $30 or $40 for the game, I think, when I did that, but no regrets. Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. I also don't hate this game as much as some people seem to. This is Pokemon Shield. That's the version that I went with. It's not the best. Like it's just not. And you can definitely tell that Game Freak is struggling with these main series games sometimes, but I do not think that this is like the problematic, like proof that Game Freak needs to give Pokemon to somebody else. Like, no, I don't believe that. I don't even think this is the worst generation, period. I'm sorry, Gen 7, Sun and Moon. I'd give literally no shits about you. I just don't. But Shield, it's pretty good. I'm playing through it actually right now. I have a party that's made up of Pokemon that I've never used before. That's one of the things is a lot of times when I'm playing a Pokemon game, I'm real jazzed. I'm real excited to breed up a party that, you know, maybe it's like some gimmick or maybe it's like Pokemon that I've never used or something like that. And so I got pretty excited. And so I'm doing a current playthrough like that right now. Yeah, I have fun with it. I really like Resident Evil Revelations, at least the first one. I actually have never played Revelations 2. So I had to go out and I had to get this game, and I was pretty happy to have gotten this until I opened it. And okay, so, you know, on the cartridge is, you know, Resident Evil Revelations 1. I do like that the cartridge just says Revelations. It doesn't say like Revelations Collection. So it just looks like you're just like, oh, the physical cartridge, it's just Revelations. But it comes with a download code for Revelations 2. Now, when I grabbed this, I was like, okay, sweet. I'll play Revelations 2. It'll be great. Oh, there's no code. There's no code printed. What? I did eventually buy Revelations 2 on the eShop, but I was pretty salty about that. But not enough to return the copy. I just kind of cut my losses. I bought it for the first game anyways. So this is RPG Maker MV on the Switch. This is the Japanese version. I imported this early. I think that the Japanese version came out like 6 or 7 months before the North American version, and I imported it and I bought it with the sole idea that I was going to do a review and I was going to get a review out before anybody else. And then I put this in and I used it for 10 minutes and my brain hurt because why in God's name would you choose to use the console version when it is identical to the PC version? And the PC version, you don't have to deal with either using the analog stick to move the cursor around to do mapping or the touch screen. Either way is not a good choice when a mouse is an option for you to use. So I scrapped even doing a review on it because I disliked my time with it so much that I could not bring myself to do it again. Which I feel like is a trend when it comes to me and console versions of RPG Maker. Because I said the same thing about the 3DS version, Fez, however the hell you say that. You have no reason to buy this, except for as an oddity. If you are someone who uses RPG Maker, or you intend to make your own RPG, just buy the PC version. Save up a little bit more. Because at least with that, you'll be able to distribute your games. With this, the only people who can play games that you make with this are people who either have this or they download like the free app that lets them play those games. But if you buy the PC version, they just need a copy of your game. They don't need anything else. And it's also easier to work with. So why the hell would you buy this? Why the hell did I buy this? I like the Saints Row games quite a bit, but they aren't my favorite, with the exception of Saints Row 4. This is the re-elected, like remastered. Well, I mean, not really remastered, but it's the port and includes all the DLC. This game is probably the best superhero game outside of like, I think the only superhero game that beats this is probably Spider-Man PS4. This game is incredible. It is so goofy, but at the same time, it is such a brilliant power trip because you're like running around, like jumping over buildings. You can like float. It's crazy. Shoot lightning bolts from your hands. It's so good. This is like the third Infamous game that we never got. I'm sorry, Infamous Second Son. It's really fun. And I also love that, like, when you're not in the like Matrixy world, you're basically in like a parody of Mass Effect, complete with sleeping with all your crew members. It's a good time. It has that Saints Row sense of humor while still being, just balls to the wall goofy. Saints Row 4. Sega Genesis Classics Collection. It was like $30 for like 50 games. Even if I only play like 10 of them. That's a deal. This has got Shining Force and Shining Force 2. Do you know how expensive those cartridges are? Yeah, I'm going to play them here. I don't know why I bought this game. Sonic Forces. It's not good. It's a 3D Sonic game. That should tell you everything that you need to know about it. Please don't come after me, Sonic stands. On the flip side of that, though, is Sonic Mania Plus. Having a physical copy of this game made me so happy because it was originally released on Switch. I believe it didn't have a physical copy, or there wasn't a physical version of it. It was just an eShop version. But, now I've got something to show for it. And this comes with all the extra stuff, like the two characters. I'm going to play as, the armadillo. I think his name's like Axel or something stupid like that. I don't know. But I love classic Sonic. It's kind of one of the things that I grew up with. So, of course, I love Sonic Mania. And honestly, who doesn't love Sonic Mania? If you don't love Sonic Mania, you're a liar. It says on the back here, GameStop said best Sonic game ever. I probably agree, honestly. Sonic 3 and Knuckles might be better, but this is just such a good game and just classic Sonic through and through. They did a fantastic job with this. I want more of this. Less of Sonic Forces, more of this. I am on a mission. A mission to own every single version of Star Wars Jedi Outcast and Star Wars Jedi Academy. These are some of my favorite games growing up. So, of course, when it released on Switch, I bought it digitally. Then I found out that Limited Run was doing a physical release, and so I bought the double pack that includes both of the games. I don't know why I opened this, because again, I have the digitals, but I just felt like I was like, you know what? This is for me. So I have this now, and this is the second most expensive game in my collection, according to Price Charting. The most expensive is a Pokemon game, which is kind of to be expected, because Soul Silver gets expensive. We'll cover that here in a little bit, but Star Wars, Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, and Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy. The Jedi Knight games were such a huge part of growing up that of course I have to get them in every version. And as I said, I'm on a mission to get every release. I think at this point I just need the Mac versions of the games and the GameCube version of Outcast, because I don't think they released Academy on GameCube. Basically what I'm saying is you will see these again in this video. You know, FOMO, the fear of missing out. That's the only reason why I bought this. I liked Super Mario 64. I never played Sunshine and I never played Galaxy. I don't really like Super Mario. But it was like the last week of March and this was going to go away March 31st. And I saw it and I was like, you know what? Hell with it. I'm going to have it because Nintendo is going to do some stupid shit and say that this game is going away and we're delisting it from the eShop and all that. So I'm like, you know what? You guys, you got me. You got me. It's dumb, and I know what you're doing, but you got me. So, you know, and it's a classic game collection. You know about this. I'm not really the kind of person to be into like Kaizo Mario levels or like super hard challenges or anything like that. But as somebody who does game development, Super Mario Maker really intrigued me. So of course, when they released it on Switch, I had to grab it. I actually pre-ordered it and I got it. I put in some decent amount of time. I've never released a level and I probably never will, because compared to some of the levels that are out there, my levels they're pretty vanilla. I would say that my Mario mapping style is traditional Nintendo Mario, not some of the creative shit that you guys are cranking out. So I'll probably never release any Mario levels, but it's fun to dink around with, and that's really why I have it. I've already expressed my love for the Tony Hawk series, so when they release this portably, yeah. I already had Tony Hawk 1 and 2 on PS4. I had a digital version of it. So when they were announcing that it was coming to Switch, I was like, you know what? I'm going to get it physically. And portable Tony Hawk 1 and 2 is great. I've had a ton of fun with this, the brief amount of time that I've had it. And you know, it's really good. This like remaster of these two games, spectacular. If you ever played a Tony Hawk game and you ever enjoyed it, you owe it to yourself to get this, because it's really good. Maybe not necessarily on Switch. It's fine on Switch. No complaints. Graphics are downgraded, obviously, but you know, get it on any system that you can. It's even on PC. I think it's on the Epic Game Store, which is a bummer, but you know, it's a good game. Just get it. I bet you didn't know there was a physical copy of Undertale for the Switch. I sure as hell didn't. I saw this in a Best Buy one day, and I think it was like $20. And I was like, that's going to be one that people are going to want someday. So I grabbed it. I've never played Undertale. I mean, I've played it, but I've never beaten Undertale. So one of these days I will go back. I did like that it came with like a storybook with the gold foiling like we used to have as kids. And it's like a full, it basically is just the intro cutscene. But it's cute that it came with that. Not a lot of games these days come with stuff, which is a bummer. Not even manuals and stuff, but this came with a full freaking like kid's storybook. Pretty great. It's a Warriors game. Duh. I was going to buy it. Warriors Orochi 4. I've never really cared about the Orochi games. I like the concept of crossing over Dynasty and Samurai Warriors. But it gets very anime. And it's a bit of a turnoff for somebody who doesn't really care for that kind of thing. But yeah, Warriors Orochi 2 or Warriors Orochi 4, sorry, Ultimate. Picked it up because I was like, you know what? I want some portable Warriors, and I got it. XCOM 2 collection. I already had XCOM 2 on the PC, but again, portable XCOM. Why would I say no? Fantastic tactical strategy games, and it includes all the DLC. So this is a good way to go if you've never played the games. It actually runs really well on Switch, and it actually plays really well on Switch too. So no real complaints about this. A lot of times when there's a game that I have on PC and on Switch, I say play it on PC, but you can get away with playing this one on Switch. It works really, really well. I don't know why I bought this. This is a standalone expansion to another game that I don't own. This is Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torna, the Golden Country. I've never played a Xenoblade game, and then I bought this, and I was like, okay, let's play this. And I was like, oh wait, this is like part of a story that I don't have. And now Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is expensive and hard to find. So rough. And finally, I mean, everybody has Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. This is one that comes with like a mini like strategy guide kind of thing. The game is in there and it's right here. But it comes with like a mini strategy guide kind of thing. Really, it's just like overly complicated instruction manual. But I'm pretty sure that when I went to go buy this game, I went to a Best Buy to buy it, and I saw that this version that came with that and the base game costs the same amount of money. So I'm just like, you know what, hell with it. Of course, now this sticks out in my collection like a sore thumb. I could just take the game out, but, you know, this is how it came. Like, why would I not include everything? But it's Breath of the Wild. I don't have to say anything about Breath of the Wild. You know about Breath of the Wild. So next up is the original Xbox. Now, this is the one that I probably most actively collect for. When I go into a retro game store, I usually make a beeline for the Xbox section, and that's usually the one that I spend the most time in. The reason being that I am probably the most nostalgic for this era of gaming. This is when I would say was like peak gaming when I was younger, was like, you know, middle school, high school, kind of that era. I had a PS2 first, but then I had an Xbox. But the thing about collecting for the Xbox is that it is largely on the whole cheaper than the PlayStation 2. And also it's easier to get like good quality out of the Xbox because those component cables, real good. I do have a lot of love for the PlayStation 2, but the Xbox is just kind of the way to go. Although I will point out, it is very quickly picking up in terms of popularity. I think the people have sort of figured out that it's on the cheaper side. And so they're, you know, they're paying more attention to it, which is causing the prices to go up pretty noticeably. But I have a pretty sizable Xbox collection. I'm pretty happy with what I got. I have most of like the big Xbox games that I'm like, I need that. So I'm pretty happy where I'm at. But there's still like a lot of things that I want. But this is what I have so far. We're starting off with a banger. This is, outside of Halo, this is probably the game that I played on Xbox Live the most back in the day. This is Battlefield 2 Modern Combat. It's Battlefield. Like pretty much exactly Battlefield. The formula hasn't really changed in the, like, you know, 10, 15 years since this game came out. It's a lot of fun. I'm really bummed out by the sort of state of this case, but this is Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. It's sort of like an action hack and slash RPG sort of thing. It's very similar to my favorite game on the PS2, which we will get to. And that's why I kind of jumped on these. Also, the Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance games are very quickly going up in price. So as I knew that this was something that I was going to be interested in, something that I wanted, I definitely made sure that I jumped on it this last time that I went game chasing. So yeah, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. And spoiler alert, the next game that I'm going to talk about is Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2, which is kind of just more of the same. And yeah, I paid $29.99 for it. Again, that has one of those stickers that if I try to pull it off, it's gross and it takes me forever. I'll get around to it at some point. But Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance duology, really good. Next up is the best Burnout. It's Burnout 3. Bums me out that I've got the Platinum Hits version. One of these days I might replace this with the non-Platinum Hits version. But that being said, this is my favorite Burnout. It's probably my favorite racing game, period. I absolutely adore Crash Mode and Road Rage, so good fun. Hey, look, everybody. It's Dead or Alive Ultimate 1 and 2. This, originally, when it was released, it came in like a box set, and I managed to find the games loose at the same store. They were actually at the same store, even though the fact that the price stickers look different. Also, I want you to note, Dead or Alive 1 is $17, and Dead or Alive 2, it says $5.99, but when I took it up to the register, the guy was like, oh, lucky you, it's actually gone down in price. It's $3.99. I don't know why nobody wants Dead or Alive 2 Ultimate. Can someone explain that one to me? Because these are like a package deal, so wouldn't you want both equally? I don't understand. They're 3D fighting games, by the way. So, yeah. I'm not the biggest Dead or Alive fan, but I figured, you know what? These are probably the best fighting games on the Xbox, so I figured I would jump in and grab them. Oh, I also grabbed Dead or Alive 3 at the same time, which was still more expensive than Dead or Alive 2. No extreme beach volleyball, though. Maybe someday. This is Demon Stone. This game answers the age-old question of what would happen if the people who made those Lord of the Rings tie-in games made a game that wasn't Lord of the Rings. It plays exactly like those games. So if you enjoy those games, you'll probably like Demon Stone. Hey, it's Deus Ex. Pretty much the rule on the internet is whenever someone mentions Deus Ex, someone somewhere reinstalls the first game. Nobody reinstalls Invisible War, though. This is not a good game. I mean, it's probably good for an Xbox game, but compared to Deus Ex 1, this game was definitely a letdown. That being said, I wanted a physical copy of it, and it's significantly cheaper to get the Xbox physical than the PC physical, so that's why I have this. I really like Deus Ex. That's why I want a physical copy of the series. Doom 3 on the OG Xbox. This is just one of those things where I'm like, wait, they got this running on that? That's stupid. It's Doom 3. I enjoy the game. Some people don't, although I've noticed that it seems like lately the sort of public perception of Doom 3 has gotten a lot better. People aren't really crapping on it nearly as much as they used to. There seems to be a lot more people appreciating it for what it is. It's not classic Doom. It's kind of its own thing, but it's still good. And the Xbox version is amazing that it exists. This game is bad. This is Enter the Matrix. It's a canon movie tie-in to the Matrix, and it's not good. And especially the Xbox version, because the controls are very weird, like very, very weird. If you're gonna play this on PC. But I bought this because this is one of the few games that outputs 1080i with component cables. So it's 1080 resolution. That's cool. I think it's one of like 7 games or something like that. At some point, I want to have all of them. And this is just the one that's probably the easiest to get. I did play this a lot, the PC version, back in the day, mainly just because I didn't have Max Payne, and I really wanted Max Payne. So the only thing I could do to kind of get that fix, scratch that itch, as it were, was to play Enter the Matrix. Max Payne is a far better game. Fatal Frame 1 and 2 on the OG Xbox. These are just some damn good J-horror, and I am so surprised that they released them on the OG Xbox. Fun fact about these games, the PS2 versions did not sell well in North America. Like, it's kind of one of those things where, like, it's bigger in other parts of the world than it is here. The Fatal Frame series has always kind of just been that. It has its fans, don't get me wrong, but it's not like Resident Evil or anything like that. So the fact that these got Xbox ports blows me away, and that is entirely why I bought them. I do like the Fatal Frame games, so I also bought them to play them. But yeah, these games did not sell well, which is probably why these games are actually kind of spendy now. And when I bought them, they were kind of spendy too. I think I spent like 60 or 70 on each of them, and I think they're both like floating around like the 80 or 90 now. You know, they're complete. I've got the manuals, I've got everything. Yeah, these did not sell well enough to the point that Fatal Frame 3 is a PS2 exclusive, which is a bummer. If I want to complete that generation of Fatal Frame, I have to jump consoles. They're definitely scary, and if you want some spooks, the Fatal Frame series, you can't go wrong. I think you can see why I have this game. It was 99 cents. This is GoldenEye Rogue Agent in like the cover art is like printed off of like an inkjet printer, and it's too small, and I'm pretty sure this is a PS2 case, but it was 99 cents, so I bought it. It's an okay game, I guess. The Grand Theft Auto double pack. It's Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City all in one nice little thing. They did come out also with a triple pack that had San Andreas, which I don't have. But that one is far more expensive than the double pack. It's actually more expensive than just buying the double pack and then buying San Andreas separately, which is what I plan on doing. I don't have San Andreas yet, but it is definitely on my to-get list. I think the Xbox version is only floating at like $15 or something like that. So it won't be hard to get. Although me just saying that, I already drove the price up. Now, if you thought Doom 3 running on the OG Xbox was stupid, it's Half-Life 2. This game does not run well on the OG Xbox, but the fact that they even tried is enough for me to want to have it. I love Half-Life 2. It's one of my favorite games of all time, and I argue it's probably one of, if not the best game ever made. So, of course, you know, I have no qualms about owning Half-Life in any form. But the OG Xbox version, That's rough. Not the way you should experience this game. Play it literally any other way. Hey, everybody, look out. It's Halo, and I paid $10 for it. I was talking with my roommate a while back when we first moved in here, and I was talking about my game collection, and I noticed that I didn't have Halo 1. So I rectified that. It's Halo. If you have an Xbox and you don't have Halo, you're weird. I also have Halo 2. I actually rebought my Xbox for Halo 2 because for my 30th birthday, I had the plan of I was going to buy enough Xboxes and enough controllers, enough copies of Halo 2 to be able to do some old school Halo 2 LAN, System Link, whatever you want to call it, because we used to do that a lot in high school. I think my junior year, the summer of that year, we would pretty much every single weekend, we would go over to my buddy Owen's house. Everybody would bring their Xboxes. Everybody would bring their Halo 2, and we would just basically from sundown to sun up be playing Halo 2. And so I've got a lot of love for this game. So of course I had to buy it. And I also do have the multiplayer map pack disc, which, fun fact, if you know one person who owns this, you can get the maps. You don't need a copy per Xbox. You can use this disc to copy onto as many Xboxes as you want. So really, you could argue that as long as one copy of this exists in the world, you can get the multiplayer map pack. And honestly, if you're playing Halo 2 and you don't have the multiplayer maps, what are you doing? Because some of them are some of the best in the game. Although Lockout, I still stand by, is the best multiplayer map ever made in any game ever. Fight me. Boy, I love me some BioWare RPGs. And this is one that I've actually never played. This is Jade Empire, limited edition. It has a bunch of bonus stuff and whatever. This is a kung fu RPG from BioWare. This was made after Knights of the Old Republic, but before Mass Effect. So it's kind of this weird in between. But as I said, I haven't actually played this one, and I do intend to sit down and play it. That's why I bought it. And as you see, that's what happens when you try to remove those stickers from that store. That happens. So I remember I started taking this sticker off, and it just fell apart like that. And now it's as I said, it's God himself bequeathed that this sticker shall be on there. And so it's stuck. But 2 discs, including a making of DVD kind of thing. So good times. Boy, I bought this at a Goodwill for $3. This is Lego Star Wars 2, the original trilogy. The Lego Star Wars games are really good. I just have never owned them. So when I saw this for as I said, for $3 at Goodwill, I was sold. It works. So that's all that matters. Yeah. The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. This is not related to the movie. This is a game that is based off of the book. It just happened to come out at the same time as the movies. It's a hack and slash adventure game. With some light RPG elements. It's good. It's fun. It's not as good as the official movie tie-in Lord of the Rings games, but it's pretty decent, and it does follow the novel a lot closer. There's a bit with Tom Bombadil in this and all that sort of thing. So if you're more of a fan of the books and the movies, which I think that if you're a fan of the books, you're probably a fan of the movies too, because those movies are borderline perfect. But you might enjoy this. They had originally planned on doing the full trilogy like this, doing book-based games. And I remember they were doing previews of the second game, which they weren't going to call the Two Towers because they didn't want to, kind of have you confused with the officially licensed game. It was going to be called Wrath of Isengard or something like that. But it never came out. And so instead we just have Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, which, I guess if you count the movie tie-in games, means that you have a full trilogy. So, yeah. Speaking of the movie tie-in games, it's the Two Towers and Return of the King. I have platinum hits Two Towers, and it keeps me up at night. Remember how I said that I played a lot of Enter the Matrix as a kid because I didn't have Max Payne and I wanted to scratch that itch? Well, as an adult, I can have Max Payne. I've actually had Max Payne on the computer for a very long time, but I figured I'd pick it up on Xbox because I hate money. Actually, this game wasn't expensive, so it wasn't exactly a hard choice to get. As someone who really, really enjoys the series, I figured, you know what? I'm gonna show some love. I'm gonna represent it a little bit by having the Xbox version. And also, someday I'd like to do a playthrough of Max Payne 1 and 2, because 3 was on 360. Max Payne 1 and 2 on the OG Xbox. Just do a playthrough of them, just because. I know the games so well that I could probably play them on a toaster and still have a good time. So these games I'm going to group together because they're They go together. This is Mech Assault 1 and 2. I bought Mech Assault 1 to soft mod my Xbox, and Lone Wolf, the second one. I remember playing a demo of it back in the day and having a real good time with it, so I bought it for that. I have actually since played through both games, and they are actually legitimately good mech games. I've never been like a big Mech Warrior fan or anything like that, but these games they're just fun. They're just, you know, drive around in robots and blow people up. What's there to complain about? There isn't anything to complain about. That's just a good time. So I have 2 copies of Midtown Madness 3, and this one is, you know, it wasn't a GameStop screw up reason. I bought this one first, or was it this one? Crap. I'm pretty sure I bought this one first, and I bought it because I loved Midtown Madness 1 and 2 on the PC. So I was like, oh, great. I never got to play the third one because it was an Xbox exclusive. Let's grab that. And then the disc didn't work. So that was a bummer. So that's been sitting in my collection for a while without me being able to play it. And then I went to a used game store and they had another copy. And I was like, I tried to ask them if I could just buy the disc, you know, but they were like, nah, you gotta buy the whole thing, which I could totally understand. And so I have 2 complete copies. They both have their manuals. They both have the discs, even though one of them, the disc doesn't work. So if you need a case for Midtown Madness 3 or the manual or whatever, like hit me up, I guess. I got you. I should probably figure out which one of these worked and like denote it somehow. So as someone whose first game that he ever played was Doom, you probably imagine that I really like boomer shooters. And so I had to get this. This is Painkiller Hell Wars. Painkiller is like kind of like an unsung hero of the boomer shooter days, like the late boomer shooter days. I think it runs on the Quake 3 engine, if I'm not mistaken. You play as Heaven's hitman. Like Heaven's got a hitman, and that's you. You are the painkiller. And so you're like running around killing demons, blowing up skeletons, all kinds of good stuff. It's just good old school shooter action, and I love it. There are like 8 or 9 different versions of Painkiller. There's like Painkiller Black and Painkiller Hell Wars and Painkiller Gotta Go Run to Nan's. Like, I don't know. There's a bunch of versions of it, and but they're all roughly the same game. So just pick up Painkiller in any form, and you'll have a good time with it. Pariah. This is a first-person shooter. It was billed as a Halo killer, and it didn't do that. But what it does that makes it, I think, worth picking up is it has a map editor. You can make your own multiplayer maps. That's why I bought this game back in the day, because I had this game when I had my original Xbox, and it's decent as far as how the actual game is. The multiplayer is definitely where this game is at. Is it as good as Halo? No. Is it worth picking up if you can find it on the cheap? Yeah. Then get in some system link stupidity and on maps that you made yourself. I see this as an absolute win. Remember how I was talking about how I love the Sands of Time trilogy? Well, here it is in its complete form. Sands of Time, Warrior Within, and Two Thrones. Out of these 3, I think Warrior Within is my favorite. And this is also the first one that I bought on Xbox. I actually just recently picked up these. They're just damn good games. I already talked about Sands of Time a little bit when I was talking about it on the GameCube, and everything that I had to say about that basically applies to the other 2. They get super edgy. As you can tell from the box art, it's like, oh, that kind of looks like a Disney prince. And then like, oh, he listens to Godsmack. I mean, he does. That Godsmack's on the soundtrack. And then like they tried to combine the 2 sort of tones with Two Thrones, and it sort of worked. This game's pretty good. Not a lot of people talk about it. It's definitely out of the trilogy, it's definitely the one that people talk about the least. My one complaint with Two Thrones is that this game's story is built off of this game's alternate ending. An alternate ending, I might point out, that is like stupid hard to get. So I remember I didn't know about that alternate ending until I got this game, and I got this game on the PS2 back in the day for Christmas. And I remember I started it up and I was like, wait, what's going on? How is that lady still alive? I killed her. They're all good, regardless of shenanigans with alternate endings between these 2. All 3 of these games are fantastic, highly recommended. And I would love if Ubisoft were to do like an HD remaster of these games, like remake, remaster, whatever the hell, just give me like prettier versions of these, because some of the stuff in this, some of the graphics in these are a little hard to watch, but just because they just look very dated. But super good games, some of my favorites of all time. You know, Castle Wolfenstein? Well, we've got to return to Castle Wolfenstein. The Tides of War. This is the Xbox port of Return to Castle Wolfenstein, which as a child was one of my favorite games growing up. It's a good World War II shooter with like bits of the occult in it. It's Wolfenstein. And the Return to Castle Wolfenstein is probably arguably the best Wolfenstein game in the entire franchise. So yeah, and you can't really go wrong with the Xbox port or the PS2 port. Both are pretty decent, although you should probably just play it on computer because, I mean, that's what it's meant for. But yeah, Return to Castle Wolfenstein, Tides of War. I feel a little dumb that I bought this. But Samurai Warriors on Xbox. Now, why do I feel dumb because I bought this? As you will see a little bit later on, one of the things that Koei Tecmo does with their Warriors series is they release something called Extreme Legends, which is kind of like an expansion on the game. And it's one of the sort of things where, like, once that version comes out, it's kind of like you really want to have the Extreme Legends. Well, while they released this on Xbox, you know what they didn't release on Xbox? Extreme Legends. And I want Extreme Legends. So I bought this game a second time, and you will see it later. This is probably one of the most common packages that you will ever see in regards to the Xbox. This is Sega GT 2002 paired with Jet Set Radio Future. This was a pack-in title with one of the earlier models, I believe, of the Xbox. And yeah, the case is, it's literally just both games. One side is one game, one side is the other game, and then the spine says both. And then you open it up, and it's one disc. Both games on one disc, plus like a bunch of demos and things of that nature. I bought this for Jet Set Radio Future, and also because I think it was like $3. Why not? One of the best games of all time, or at least one that a lot of people argue is one of the best games of all time, is Silent Hill 2. And to me, this is the definitive way to play Silent Hill 2. Sometimes it has some issues running in some spots, but it includes a bunch of bonus features that the PS2 version does not have. By the way, this is called Silent Hill 2 Restless Dreams. It has a bunch of stuff, including an entire chapter where you play as Maria, which is not in the PS2 version and certainly not in the HD release. This is good, and also it just kind of like, when I found this, I was like, what? Silent Hill 2 came out on the Xbox? Hell yeah, gotta have it. So I got it. Okay, hear me out. But I like The Sims. This is The Sims busting out, and The Sims 2. Out of these, I think I put the most time into The Sims 2 because it's the most like fully featured console version of The Sims. The console versions of The Sims are a little weird because they don't play like the PC versions. I mean, they kind of do. Like, Busting Out has like a story mode and like objectives and stuff, and I mean, they all do, but Sims 2 does have like a free play mode, which is pretty similar to base Sims. They're fun. They're fine. It's not the definitive way to play The Sims, but it's the Xbox port. You get what you pay for, which in my case, I didn't pay very much. Okay, so growing up, as I established, I was a bit of a boomer shooter fan. I don't know if this necessarily qualifies as a boomer shooter, but I really liked Soldier Fortune. So Soldier Fortune 2 Double Helix on the Xbox was right up my alley. There's not really many differences between this and the PC version, so really you can go with either depending on how you feel about controls. But I would still say that as far as Soldier Fortune 2, you might want to play it on PC. Of the two games, Soldier Fortune 1 or Soldier Fortune 2, play Soldier Fortune 1, but this isn't bad. I enjoy it. It's a generic like action first-person shooter. It is exactly what you think it is. How could I have a console from this generation and not own Soul Calibur 2? I know that a lot of people are like, oh, you're going to have Soul Calibur 2, you got to get the GameCube version. Play as Link! I don't care about playing as Link. You know who I care about playing as? Spawn. I mean, at least out of the 3 guest characters that the 3 consoles got, Spawn is the one that I guess excites me the most. Heihachi from Tekken. I don't play Tekken, so I don't give 2 shits. Sorry, PS2 version. And again, Link, I'm not the biggest Zelda fan, so him being playable is cool, but I mean, to me, Spawn fits this better. So yeah, but yeah, Soul Calibur 2, one of the best fighting games ever made. Love it. I've put so much time into this game across all the different versions. So, of course, I had to have it for the system. This was a game that I played on PS2 back in the day that is like, it's a guilty pleasure kind of thing. It's not a good game, and it's based off of a not very good movie. All right, calm down, prequel memers. It's better than the sequels. Are you happy? Is that what you wanted to hear? But this game is super fun. It's like it's a hack and slash, like beat 'em up kind of thing where you play through levels based on the game. And the best part is after you beat the game and you unlock dual mode where you and the second player can, you know, choose different characters from throughout and have lightsaber battles. And it includes stuff like old Obi-Wan is an unlockable character. Oh, there's a like alternate ending in this game where you get like the alternate ending to episode 3, where instead of Obi-Wan defeating Anakin and then the other Star Wars movies happening, Anakin manages to surpass Obi-Wan on the high ground, strikes him down, and then strikes down the Emperor and becomes the Emperor himself as Anakin and not as like Darth Vader having trouble breathing. I mean, I guess he's still Darth Vader, but you know, whatever. But yeah, it's a fun game. It's stupid cheap. And it's just stupid. Oh, it's got actual film footage from episode 3. Wow. It's Knights of the Old Republic. Of course I have it. It's Platinum Hits, which sucks. So this is one of the best RPGs ever made. Probably one of the best games ever made. Knights of the Old Republic is a triumph of humanity. In the future, when we are all dead and gone, archaeologists are going to find a copy of Knights of the Old Republic, and they're going to hold it up as this great work of ancient civilization. And yeah, I also have KOTOR 2, which in some ways I like better, and then in other ways, like the fact that it's not complete, I don't. At the very least, this isn't the Platinum Hits version, so that's got it over this one. I will be replacing the Platinum Hits version at some point. I think I just grabbed that because it was like, I feel like I gotta have this for the system. So then I grabbed what I could find. I've seen it a few times since, and it's roughly the same price, so I'm not really going to lose too much. But Knights of the Old Republic, as I said, fantastic games, worth playing. We're getting a remake on PS5 and probably PC at some point. But I would, I might say wait for the remaster, but not play the original. Like, you have no excuse. This thing is on everything. You can play Knights of the Old Republic 1 on mobile phones now. Not the best way to play it, but you can. Just get out and experience at least this game. This game is worth your time too. Yeah, just play Knights of the Old Republic. And play Knights of the Old Republic 2. And why not play the Old Republic as well? I did a video about that. Link in the card. Remember how I said I made it my mission to try to get every single version of Jedi Academy and Jedi Outcast? Well, that includes the Xbox versions. So yeah, here they are. It's the same games, just Xbox. They're like lovely Star Wars first-person shooters, and yeah, some like by far the best lightsaber combat ever put into a video game are in these games. Yes, even better than Jedi Fallen Order, which is just Dark Souls with a lightsaber. This is like legitimately really good lightsaber combat. So check it out for that. Do you know what doesn't have good lightsaber combat though? Star Wars Obi-Wan. This is a game that came out in the wake of Episode 1. You play as like a young pre-Episode 1 Obi-Wan, although you do also play events in the movies. Like you fight Darth Maul and all that sort of stuff. It's a action hack and slash beat 'em up kind of thing. It's decent, but nothing to like run out and get. And also I have the Platinum Hits, which physically hurts me. Back in the day, this made me want an Xbox. This is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2X. You might just be looking at this and going, oh, they made Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 for the Xbox. That's cool. It's more than that. This is a enhanced version of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Yes, that is mainly what it is. But it also includes 5 new levels and the entire career mode and all of the levels for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1. So this is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 before Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 was even a thing. And it is spectacular. This was when I bought my Xbox. I was like, you know what? I 100% have to get Tony Hawk 2X. And I did, and I love it. I love these games. I'm such a sucker for Tony Hawk games. Sucker indeed. It's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. This is great. Play it. Probably, actually, honestly, my second favorite Tony Hawk game. Yeah, easily the second best, in my opinion. And I mean, it's hard to follow up Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, but people slept on this game. This one is really, really good, but it had the unfortunate situation of being wedged in between Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and Tony Hawk's Underground, which is a rough spot to be. But it's really good, and if you're a fan of the Tony Hawk games, but you've never played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, you owe it to yourself. Go out, grab it, play it. It's awesome. The Xbox version is 720p, so if you're going to play it, this is a good way to do it. Remember how I said that Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 is probably my second favorite Tony Hawk? That's because this one's my favorite. This is Underground. I have played through this game so many times that, I mean, I've probably played through this game more times than any other game that I've ever played through. You create your own character, and there's like this whole story mode where you're trying to go from just some skater punk on the street to being a pro. And this is, to me, when the Tony Hawk series really nailed it. Like the gameplay in this, perfect. This is perfection. They did not need to go any further than this. I mean, like I would love for us to have more Tony Hawk games. I'm not complaining about that, but I'm talking mechanically. They did not have to go any further than this. Because while Underground was perfection, this adds in a few things mechanically that I don't think were necessary. Like vehicles is a weird choice. I mean, Nada spins are cool, I guess. Or was that American Wasteland? It might have been this one added in Nada spins. And like tagging, okay, I guess it's skate culture. It kind of fits a little bit. Freaking out. Like I get that you know, focusing your board is a thing that happens in skateboarding every once in a while. But it's not like you don't get points in competition for focusing your board. So why should I get points for doing that? I don't know. It's dumb. Also, I'd like to point out that this game, the story mode, I feel like calling this Tony Hawk's Underground 2 is a little bit disingenuous. It probably should have been called Bam Margera's Underground 2 because Tony isn't the focus of this game. The story mode of this game, you're basically playing Jackass, but with skateboards. So, I don't know. It doesn't feel like... It feels like they were trying to move away from Tony. Not a fan. Although, you know, still, this is a fun game. And if you're playing the PSP version, it's like the best portable Tony Hawk until the Switch version of Tony Hawk 1 and 2 came out. So, you know, Underground 2 has its faults. It also has its benefits. It has its reason for existing. So, you know, I enjoy it. I play it every once in a while. I bust it out. Then we have Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. This one, as far as story mode, is probably like the most in-depth, most like broken up. Although... this is the game that was like, oh, it's one huge open world, no loading screens. And it's like, yeah, you have no loading screens because every time you're trying to change an area, you have to go through one long tunnel. And you can tell that it's just loading during that tunnel. But, you know, this is a good game. Again, feature creep wound up being a thing. They added in bikes, like BMX is in this game. Okay. And they took away the ability to play as a girl in the story mode, which... isn't the most important thing, I guess, but it's a little weird. But yeah, Tony Hawk's American Wasteland, it's a good game. Although the numbers in this game, the numbers. I can get like, you know, hundreds of thousands of points in the other games, but in this game I can get millions. I don't know what it is that they changed. I don't know if they increased the point totals or if the physics are just easier to deal with, but this game is like stupid easy to get insane combos. Okay, now we finally moved out of the world of Tony Hawk. There's no more Tony Hawk on the Xbox because next up we have Unreal 2. I bought this because, again, I like boomer shooters, and Unreal is a series that I've never really gotten into. I recognize that Unreal 2 is not a good game. It has its moments. It's got a Booby McBoobs over here. That's all I got. I don't know why I have this, but this is World Championship Poker 2. I think this came in like a lot because I've bought a few lots. Or maybe it was like, what was it? Oh, when I bought Enter the Matrix, this was in the box too. It's poker. I don't care about poker, but it's here, I guess. Okay, so now we're on to a smaller collection again. This is one that I don't actually actively collect for. If I see a game every once in a while that I want, I'll grab it, but not running out for it. But this is the Xbox 360. First up, The GameStop shenanigans continue. So this looks like an Xbox 360 copy of Batman Arkham Asylum. I bought this because my girlfriend at the time, she likes Batman, and she was trying to get into gaming. So I was like, okay, well, Arkham Asylum is a good game to go with. I bought this at GameStop, didn't pay attention to what they were doing, and it's the PS3 copy. Good job, GameStop. I mean, at least it's the right game this time. This is in with the 360 collection because the box. It's when I have a situation like that, I don't know how to take care of that. So as I said, I just put it in with the 360 games. Okay, so the first actual 360 game is Dragon Age Origins. Okay, so here's the thing. I don't really like this game. It's just clunky. It is clunky. It's hard to play. I've tried so many times to get into it. And I know it's a good game, and so many other people have had a great time with it. But I just have a really hard time. And I love BioWare. So I should be on board for this. But it just feels outdated, and it's hard for me to play. I've tried so many times. I've started characters of all the different origins just to try to see if something could grab me, and it never does. I always usually stop about 3 or 4 hours in, and then I'm just like, I'm done. And it doesn't help that the PC version is a pain in the ass to get working on Windows 10 now. So now at this point, I'm just like, you know what, Dragon Age, I guess I just missed the boat on you. You're not for me, which is a bummer. I wish it was. Oh, hey, I already talked about this game. At least this is the base version of Dragon's Dogma, because Dark Arisen is like an enhanced version. But this is the version that I played the first time. It's just Dragon's Dogma. I already talked about it on Switch, but it's a good game. Check it out. I'm just going to do this in like a batch thing, but it's Guitar Heroes 2, 3, Metallica, and Smash Hits. I also have Warriors of Rock somewhere, but it doesn't appear to be in my collection. Oh, it's disc only. That's right. I bought it disc only because it's not an easy game to get a hold of. But anyways, Guitar Hero, I love Guitar Hero. I love Rock Band. So of course I have at least, Guitar Hero 2 and 3, I feel like are like the definitive ones on the 360. Metallica, I'm a Metallica fan, so I have it. And Smash Hits was cheap. Halo 4. I was so hyped for this game back in the day when it came out. And it's not a bad game. I don't hate Halo 4, and I don't hate the multiplayer for Halo 4. It just wasn't as good as Halo 3 or Halo 2. So to me, Halo 4 and Halo 5, I feel, are probably games that time will eventually forget about, which is a bummer because it is fun. I did play this all the way through on Legendary by myself, which this is the only game in the series that I've done that. Every other time that I've done Legendary playthroughs, it's been with somebody, it's been co-op. But this one I did a solo Legendary playthrough. I think it was because like when this game came out, I bought it on a Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday we were out camping. And yes, my parents go glamping, not actually camping. So we have a trailer, and we had a TV, but obviously no internet. And so I was like, well, I want to get my Halo time in though. So I'll play Legendary. Sure. Let's do that. So instead of camping and sitting by the fire and doing all that sort of stuff, I sat and played Halo in a trailer. Good times. Power Gig. Rise of the Sixth String. This is a music rhythm game where you play with an actual guitar, but not like Rocksmith. It's like a plastic guitar that was built explicitly for this that just happens to have strings. You can also play it with Guitar Hero controllers, but why? It's just bad. Don't do it. It's got Kid Rock in it, though. So, is it Ba with the Ba? No, it's All Summer Long. Yet another batch. It's my Rock Band 360 collection. Rock Band 1, Rock Band 2, Rock Band 3, which is still in my Xbox to this day. Will probably never leave my Xbox at this point. The AC/DC track pack, and Lego Rock Band. Also in here, I believe in the Rock Band 3 case, is a disc-only copy of the Beatles Rock Band. I'm not the biggest Beatles fan, so I didn't feel like I had to have that one. As I said, I love Guitar Hero. I love Rock Band. I love Rock Band 3 because, for those of you who don't know, without modding your Xbox, it is possible to get custom tracks in Rock Band 3. Just look it up. There's YouTube videos about how to do it if you're down. So I have like 5,000 songs or something like that. It's insane, and I'm all about it. I've been spending my time trying to master all of the instruments. I already am an expert singer. I'm already expert on guitar and bass, obviously. I'm working on drums right now. I'm up in the hard range. I went really stupid try hard. I have an electronic drum kit that is plugged into my system, which I know that like people who are really big into Rock Band and Clone Hero and all that, they're like, ooh, everybody has that at this point. But those of you who are not really into it will probably see that and go, wow, that guy has spent a lot of money on Rock Band. And even before custom tracks came in, I had spent more money than I'd like to think of on downloadable songs for Rock Band. I'm probably somewhere in the like $2,000 range on DLC for Rock Band. I'm not proud of it, but it is worth at least pointing out that that was over a long time. This is one of my most recent Xbox 360 pickups. I actually bought this sealed. It was brand new, sealed on eBay for like $5. This is Rock of the Dead. I didn't know that this existed until like June. Basically, this is a game where it's kind of like House of the Dead, except instead of shooting light guns, or if you're playing Typing the Dead, I guess typing out words, you're playing notes like Guitar Hero style, like riff sections with a Guitar Hero controller to kill zombies. It's stupid, but it's fun. So, you know, if you spot it for like $5, grab it, because, you know, it's good for a lark. It's not something that you're probably going to play through multiple times. You'll probably play it once and then be done with it. But, you know, it's fun. And also it's a cool conversation piece. Just, you know, be talking with your friends about Guitar Hero and stuff. Just be like, hey, did you know this was a thing? I'm kind of surprised there weren't more attempts at stuff like this. Like more like interesting ways to use all of the guitar and drum peripherals and stuff for other types of games. There's so much plastic waste floating around that I'm surprised that no one thought to do that. Tony Hawk's Project 8 was an attempt to bring the games to the next generation, and honestly, this isn't bad. The 360 PS3 versions of this game are not bad. The PS2 and PSP versions are painful. We'll get into that later. But the 360 version, it's a fine game. It's just, this is when you could tell that the series was running out of steam a little bit. I believe at around this time, Skate was either announced or it was out, so they felt like they needed to find ways to compete with Skate, but it's not bad. I actually didn't play this back in the day. I didn't play this until about a year ago when I was like, you know what? That was a gap in my knowledge. I'll buy it. And it's decent. That's the best that I can say about it. Tony Hawk's Proving Grounds, however, I feel is an underrated gem within the Tony Hawk series. This was the last mainline Tony Hawk game before he started doing weird stuff like Ride and Shred and all that kind of stuff, and then the series died. I would argue this is the last like true Tony Hawk game. Like even Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, no. This game, like, it just took what Project 8 was doing and just refined it and made it so much better. This was definitely at the peak of like, they got to compete with Skate. And also it comes with a 5-song demo of Guitar Hero 3, which I still jam through every once in a while. Whenever I sit down to like play this game, there's always at least one session where I see the demo and I'm like, all right. And I grab the guitar and I go and play it. But anyways, yeah, Proving Grounds. I think if you haven't played this game and you're a Tony Hawk fan, go ahead, check it out. As I said, I think it's underrated. I think that, you know, people slept on it. And, you know, it kind of killed the series. Although you could argue that Guitar Hero killed the series, because after this, Neversoft became exclusively the Guitar Hero developer. Then Tony Hawk went to like Robo Moto or whatever the hell after that. And my final Xbox 360 game is Wolfenstein. I haven't played this, but I bought this because this game, you can't get it anywhere. It's not on Steam. It's not on GOG. It's not anywhere. And the reason is because it's developed by Raven and published by id, or published by Activision, but id was involved. And the thing is that, so Raven is now owned fully by Activision. They've been sent to the Call of Duty mines, and id is owned by Bethesda. So this game sits in like a weird legal limbo where it can't be released, and it probably never will be re-released. Unless, you know, Bethesda and Activision decide to play nice for some reason. But they probably won't do that because this game did not sell well. It didn't sell well. It kind of got review bombed. Well, not review bombed. It the reviews were justified. It's apparently not a very good game. But, you know, I grabbed it because I was like, you know what? I haven't played that, and it's going to be impossible for me to find. So why not? I'll grab it, and I fully intend to play through it at some point. Okay, so next up is the Xbox One, which honestly might be the smallest collection that I have. I bought the Xbox One for one reason only, and you will figure out why once I get to the game. But yeah, I don't have very many Xbox One games. I also don't have very many digital ones. I just don't play that console. I actually looked, and the last time that I logged into Xbox Live was like 300 and something days ago. And if I remember correctly, the last time that I used my Xbox One, I plugged it in to cancel my Game Pass subscription. Although Game Pass is definitely worth it, and certainly something where if I felt that I was going to use my Xbox One more, I would probably resubscribe to it because it's an amazing service. So these are the games that I have for the system physically. So let's jump into it. First up, we have Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls Ultimate Edition. Ultimate Evil Edition. So I bought this despite having it already on the PC, including Reaper of Souls. I bought this to play through with my girlfriend at the time, and we actually had a ton of fun with it. This game works surprisingly well as a console game. Like, you would think Diablo is a PC franchise, but it works actually really well with controller. So, you know, don't sleep on the console versions of Diablo 3. Next up is Dynasty Warriors 9. This is when the Dynasty Warriors series went open world, and boy, does that make this game a slog. Of all the Dynasty Warriors games, this is the only one that I haven't beaten, just because I just get bored. Because there's so much time just running between battles and stuff, you know, going from one battlefield to the other. It's just, it's a slog. That being said, I am looking forward to Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires, which we're supposed to get this year, maybe. This year or next year. They say this year, but let's be honest, it'll probably be next year. Because it's going to take a lot of the systems from this that I like, but do it in the Empires format, which I love. So that means no open world. So normally open world's a good thing, but not in this case. This is my ex-girlfriend's. This is Game of Thrones, the Telltale series. The season pass disc. So this is effectively worthless because the code's already been used. It's a Telltale Game of Thrones game. It's exactly what it says on the box. Gears of War Ultimate Edition and Rare Replay. I bought this for Rare Replay. I think it was like $10 when I bought it. I'm not the biggest Gears of War fan. Gears of War 1 is fine. So, like, you know, at some point I will give that a playthrough, but I'm here for Rare Replay. Be able to play a bunch of classic Rare games, including a few that I didn't really get into that much, like Banjo-Kazooie. I didn't really play much, but, you know, Cameo, that's a game that came out. It was a 360 launch title that I feel like nobody paid any attention to. Being able to play that here, awesome. Rare Replay might honestly be one of those things where, like, if you own an Xbox One and you don't own Rare Replay, there's something wrong with you. Halo 5 Guardians. Sorry, this game's really boring. This is the only Halo game that I stopped the campaign halfway through. I was just like, you know what? I don't care about anything happening in this. Maybe if this were to be included in the PC release of the Master Chief Collection, I might give it another go, but nah, I just don't care anymore. I don't know what it is. I should know better, but I will always buy the NetherRealm fighting games day one, and then about a year later, regret that I didn't wait for the, like, Ultimate Game of the Year edition or whatever that has all the DLC and everything. Because, like, I'll buy this, and then I'll buy the DLC as it's coming out, and I'm sitting there and I'm just like, I spent way more money than other people who just waited. But I did this with this. I did this with Mortal Kombat games. I did it with Injustice 1. Good game, though. Really good game, though. Injustice 2, I think, might be the best game that NetherRealm has released since they kind of formed. Mortal Kombat 9 there's an argument to be made for that too, but Injustice 2 is fantastic. So my favorite DC superhero is Supergirl. And so having her added to the roster was pretty awesome. Supergirl or Green Lantern. One or the other. Yeah, she is. Supergirl is my main in this game. I bought this game for $5. It's not really a game, it's a demo. It's effectively a real fancy demo. This is Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. It's like a 20-minute sample of what Metal Gear Solid is going to be. It's a 20-minute like prequel. There's like different like scenarios that you could play through, but it's all on the same map and it's all basically the same. I bought this because I was hyped for Phantom Pain, and again it was like $5. So I was like, sure, why not? I did get a lot of play out of this. I think I've like S ranked everything in this game. So, you know, not a bad pickup for $5, but these days just grab Metal Gear Solid 5. There's no reason to grab this. This is why I bought my Xbox One. So this is Rock Band 4, the original release. When I bought it, I bought the guitar and game bundle. And then later on, I found the Rivals guitar bundle that came with the Jaguar guitar at Walmart on clearance for like $30. So I bought it, and also I got the Rivals expansion, which is digital only. Like both of these discs are exactly the same. They're both just base Rock Band 4, but this one has a download code for Rivals. So that's why I have both of these. But Rock Band 4, I want to like Rock Band 4 more than I do. Because it's a really good game and it has a lot of great features. But the fact that I grabbed the Xbox One version bums me the hell out. Because nowadays, if you try to get all the adapters and everything you need to use your old instruments, it's going to cost you like $1,000, pretty close. Or if you just want to buy the instruments that work for the Xbox version, you're looking at hundreds upon hundreds of dollars. That's why I still play Rock Band 3, but I don't play Rock Band 4 really ever. Every once in a while, I'll get a wild hair up my ass to like play through the, like there's like a behind the music kind of story mode thing in this. And every once in a while I'll think about it. I'll be like, oh, that could be fun. I'll play through that. But the fact that like so much of the songs that I like to play and everything are stuck on the 360, and I can basically only play guitar and sing in this one because I don't have a drum kit that works for it. I don't have the adapters to use my old drum kits. You know, it just bums me out. I really wanted to like Rock Band 4 more. Maybe someday we'll get a Rock Band 5 and they'll figure out some way to let you use your legacy instruments without adapters, but I'm not holding my breath. It kind of seems like the plastic instrument game is done. At least officially, the fans have kind of stepped up to sort of fill the void, but as a business, that's not going to happen. I doubt we'll ever get a Rock Band 5, which really... it upsets me. Although if we do get a Rock Band 5, I hope it comes to PC. And I know that they tried to bring Rock Band 4 to PC. They tried to crowdfund it, but it failed, and so they didn't ultimately wind up doing that. But I think that would have been the way to go, because then I guarantee you modding would have been a big thing. Like if Rock Band 4 came to the PC, I don't think Clone Hero would exist. I just don't, because at that point there's not a lot of a reason other than, you know, if you're one of those people who's like a purist as far as the really hardcore, like your hit window and thing of that nature, then there's room for Clone Hero, I guess, in that aspect. But just the casual playing and casual streaming, Rock Band 4 PC would have 100% overtaken it. No doubt in my mind. But enough ranting about that. It's Soul Calibur 6. I bought this game on the Xbox, forgot that I bought it on the Xbox, and then bought it on Steam. And so when I play this game, I just play it on Steam. So this is kind of worthless to me. And finally, oh boy, it's Madden 17. Disc only. Because I bought it used from a red box. Now these football games, I don't buy them very often. I'll probably buy one every like 5 or 6 years when I get the urge to play them. And I always will buy one that's like 1 or 2 years out of date so that it costs me like basically nothing. They're just the same game every single time. So there's no reason that you have to feel like you have to run out and get the most recent version. At least I don't, because I'm not a football fan. Like, so I don't care about having updated rosters or anything like that. As long as it has like season mode, I'll play a few seasons and then I'm done and I'm good for a while. I'm good for a few years. So that's why I have like the red box loose disc version. So I bought it used out of a red box. So now we're going to jump over to the Sony consoles, starting with the PS1. So this kind of bums me out a little bit, but this is Blood Omen Legacy of Kain. I watched Mandalore's review of this game, and it made me really, really want it. And then I saw it for $20 at one of the used game stores that I go to quite a bit. But that front cover is just printed off. The rest of the artwork is the actual artwork, but someone lost the manual. So I've got like some like photocopied cover, but the game is there and it works. I haven't gotten a chance to play through it yet. This is like a very recent pickup, like literally like the last time that I went out, I grabbed this. But it is super high on my backlog, so I'll get to it fairly quickly, I feel like. This is my second favorite Final Fantasy. This is Final Fantasy IX. I bought this because I went to a used game store and it cost me basically nothing. I saw the price they had on it. I asked them if that was for real. They were just like, yeah, sure, why not? And then I grabbed it. I think it was like $15 or something like that, which I think is actually like roughly the going price. But I'm used to Final Fantasy games being like redonkulously expensive. But I think because this is a greatest hits version, it makes it cheaper. I would like to not have the greatest hits version, but what can you do? Final Fantasy IX is spectacular. One of the best Final Fantasy games. As I said, this is my second favorite. And this is one that, like, it's not underrated because people who have played it love it. It's just not talked about. Although that has been changing over the last few years. I remember back in the day, when the PS2 was still around, I remember seeing Final Fantasy IX and just being like, I knew there was a Final Fantasy IX, obviously, because there was an 8 and then there was a 10. So I knew there had to be a 9 in there. But I remember when I saw this in a store for the first time, I was just like, yeah, nobody that I know has played that or said anything about it or anything like that. And for the longest while, this was my favorite. It was only over the last, probably 4 years that 10 has kind of overtaken it. But I would say it's very close. Yeah, Final Fantasy IX at the very least has the best character in any Final Fantasy game ever, and that's Vivi. And if you disagree with me, you can just shut up. The only reason why I have this is because I got it for a steal. This is Final Fantasy Chronicles, which includes Final Fantasy IV and Chrono Trigger for some reason. I don't know why that's included in a Final Fantasy compilation, but it just is. This is not the best way to play Final Fantasy IV or Chrono Trigger. The load times are a little, excessive, but it's a cool piece for the collection. That's largely why I got it. And also, I just think it's so funny that Chrono Trigger is in a Final Fantasy titled compilation. I guess, where else are you gonna put it, I suppose? This was the first original PS1 game that I ever owned. This, if you're looking at this thing, the case is in rough shape. That's because I bought this early 2000s. I had a PS2 at the time, and Metal Gear Solid 2 was out at the very least. I think 3 might have been as well. And I remember I went into a Game Crazy, and they had a used copy, and I was in there with my mom, and I think I made a deal with her that I was going to wash her car or something if she bought me this game. And I got a hold of it. I did the deal with mom. I'm pretty sure it was washing her car. I think it was washing and detailing her car because I think it was $20. And I played the hell out of this. I love the entire Metal Gear Solid franchise. And so having the original non-greatest hits version of the game, I'm pretty happy with. Again, the case is pretty thrashed, but you can actually buy replacement cases. The dual disc ones are a little bit harder to find, but you can. And, so I could always just swap them out and, put them in a better case. And I probably will someday. Because, I'm not worried about this being all original or anything because I'm never selling this one. I know that I've said that I'm not really in the business of selling games, but when it comes to games that I'm keeping this. As I said, first PS1 game, and it's one of a beloved series. There's no way that I'm getting rid of this. So this is a fun one. This is disc-only Metal Gear Solid VR missions. I don't even know where I got this. It's just been in my collection for the longest while, and for some weird reason, it's in a Windows 95 OEM case. I don't know why. At some point, I'll get a reproduction of all the artwork and stuff and give it a proper home. But it's the VR missions, so kind of like the weird standalone expansion that everyone forgets about. Okay, so these next two games I'm actually going to group together because they are literally the same game, but no GameStop shenanigans here. This is Resident Evil 2 on the PS1. I love Resident Evil 2. Fun fact, the remake is probably, in my opinion, the best game made in like the last 5 years. I absolutely adore the remake, and I love the original. This was the first Resident Evil that I ever played. I played it on the PC, but I played Resident Evil 2. So I found this at a used game store for, I think it was like $50. And I was stoked because it's in pretty good condition. A couple scratches here and there on the case, but nothing too bad. And it's complete. It's got the disc, it's got the manual, it's everything else. And so I grabbed it and I was like, sweet. And then the next time that I went out, I saw the Japanese version. And this was like $12 or something like that. And this is even more complete. It doesn't just have the manual and the discs and everything. It also has the warranty card and some like stickers, because I guess Japanese games come with stickers. I don't know. I don't have a system to play a Japanese version on, and honestly, these games are so I don't know them well enough to be able to do it without having to read. So really, I have this as a discussion piece and sort of like a companion for the actual North American release. Yes, for those of you who don't know, in Japan, Resident Evil is called Biohazard. I think that there was like a band named Biohazard or something like that, so they had to change the title in North America. So Resident Evil 2, twice. Now, if you thought me pairing 2 games together was a bit of a trip, oh boy, I'm pairing 5. It's the Tomb Raider games for the PS1. You've got Tomb Raider 1, non-greatest hits. None of these greatest hits. That's why I grabbed them, because I was like, yes. And these things are in like damn near pristine condition. They got some chips here or there. When I bought them, they were in pristine, and then flying back with these, they got a little beat up despite my better efforts. Tomb Raider 1, first game I ever beat. 1996, 7, something like that. First game I ever beat by myself. Tomb Raider 1. But Tomb Raider 2 is my shit. This is my favorite game in the franchise, really. Tomb Raider 2, I've got so many good memories hanging out with my buddy Owen and trying to play the PC version, trying to beat it, struggling with the Opera House. It's such a good time. Tomb Raider 2, to me, favorite game in the series. But don't sleep on Tomb Raider 3. This is a fantastic game. I mean, it's more of the same. It's just more Tomb Raider. But I feel like Tomb Raider 3 is the one that not a lot of people talk about. And I don't know why. It's really, really good. Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation. This is probably the one that I've played the least. I've beaten it a couple of times, but every time that I try to go back for a replay, it's kind of a crapshoot if I'm even going to be able to get past the first level, because the first like introductory like tutorial mission where you're playing as a young Lara, the guy that's teaching you stuff annoys me so much that like I just don't even want to play the game most of the time. I have to be in a certain mood to be able to get into that one. And then Chronicles, which I've played it. That's all I got for you. This was kind of just like, you know, it's very obvious that they tried to end Tomb Raider with The Last Revelation. Because spoiler alert, she dies. But then like that game sold well enough that they were like, oh shit, we gotta make another one. So Tomb Raider Chronicles, it's just a bunch of like interconnected. It's kind of like an anthology game. Like it's a bunch of disconnected like individual one-off adventures. It's fun and there's some cool levels and stuff, but the Tomb Raider series after 3 took a bit of a dive for me. See, Lara does a lot of dives. They're still good. I still really like them, but the first 3 are the best in my opinion. And my final PS1 game is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. I really like Tony Hawk, can you tell? This is great. This is fantastic. This was the first Tony Hawk game I ever played. My buddy Owen had a copy. Back when he got his PS2, he got like Kessin and a couple other games, and then Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. And just had so much fun playing it and jamming out to the soundtrack. Lots of good memories with this game. Okay, so before I move on to the PS2, I'm just going to shove this one in there because it's the only game that I have for the system and I don't know where else to put it. The PlayStation Portable, I've got Dynasty Warriors Strike Force. It's a Dynasty Warriors game on PSP. I don't know what you want from me. So starting things off on the PS2 proper, we have Ark the Lad, Twilight of the Spirits. This is a fantastic JRPG that I have not played in about 15 years. Should probably do something about that. Basically, you play as two different characters depending on where you are in the story, and they're kind of like opposing, like they're on opposite sides of this bigger conflict. And a doings transpire. But this game features a pretty freaking solid battle system. It's like your traditional JRPG, kind of battle system, except you actually have to move your characters into position on their turns. So it's kind of tactical, kind of not. Either way, I dig it a lot. So Ark the Lad, Twilight of the Spirits gets a recommendation. Next up, this is The Bard's Tale. This kind of goes hand in hand with like the Baldur's Gate games, is sort of like an action hack and slash. In fact, I think it's using the same engine. I'm fairly certain that it is all like the same gameplay style, but I haven't put in a ton of time on this. I got this at Goodwill for like $3 along with the Lego Star Wars game. And as someone who's a big D&D fan, I figured, why not a game about a bard? I'll dive into it. And this is one of those things that I've heard so much about. So I might as well put in some time and actually play it. So I'll get around to it at some point. So these two go together, even though they're supposed to be like sequel and, whatever, but they're really more like base game expansion pack. It's Champions of Norath and Champions Return to Arms. These are, or rather this, because again, this is like kind of the base game, is my favorite game on the PS2. I absolutely adore these games. They're your hack and slash RPG, kind of like borderline Diablo, loot goblin kind of thing. But I have so much fun with them. They're just a good time, and they're 4-player multiplayer, which you don't really see on the PS2 all that much. It does require a multi-tap if you're going to do that, but it's a fun time. I remember playing through this with my brother like a really long time ago, like back when I was in high school, and I think he was in community college at the time, and just had a ton of fun with it. And this is actually made by the people who made the Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance games, so that's why they play so similar. This one I haven't put as much time in, just because to play this properly, it kind of requires you to play a character all the way through this and then import them into this. You can just create a character in this and play through, but like you're really meant to import your character from this into this. Cause you can do that. You make a character in this, you play through it, and then when you're starting a game in here, it's like, do you want to load your save game from Champions of Norath? And you're like, yeah, sure, I do. And then you play through. The Norath games are fantastic, and I know that they're related to EverQuest in some way, but the amounts of fucks that I give about that could not be lower. But they're good games regardless. This is one that I actually just recently got a disc for. This is Dark Cloud 2, or Dark Chronicle if you're in Europe. I'm pretty sure this is my buddy Owen's favorite game on the PS2, or at least pretty high up there. And this is actually his case. So I got a bunch of games from him years back. He was getting rid of his PS2 collection, and so I wound up with them somehow. And I remember I went to go play Dark Cloud 2, and I opened up the case, and there was no disc. It was just an empty case. And that bummed me out for a long time until my most recent game chasing outing. I found the disc by itself, just disc only. It was more than I wanted to spend for it, but now it's, if I could just find the manual, this will be complete. But I'm just happy to be able to play Dark Cloud 2. Although I already could, because I have it on my PS4 as PS2 backwards compatibility. Oh well, I'm still happy to have it. Here is a bunch of games that I'm going to put together in one chunk, because they are they're effectively all the same game. So I have plans to do a video or a few videos about the Dynasty Warriors series. I want to do one that's talking about like the historical reality around it, because for those of you who don't know, Dynasty Warriors is based off of a Chinese novel called Romance of the Three Kingdoms, which is in turn based off of actual historical events. Obviously dramatized, romanticized versions of actual historical events. And fun fact, I have a minor in basically in that period of history. It's in cultural anthropology, but I chose to focus on that, on ancient China, just because it fascinates me. And so I plan on using my degree to do a video about Dynasty Warriors, because what else am I using it for? So I'm trying to collect all of the Dynasty Warriors games physically, and I've gotten pretty far. I'm actually like 90% of the way, especially on the PS2. I'm only missing a few. So that's Dynasty Warriors 2, Dynasty Warriors 3, 4, Extreme Legends 4, 4 Empires, 5 Extreme Legends, 5 Empires, and 6. I am missing 3 Extreme Legends, and I think that's it on the PS2. Pretty sure that's all that I'm missing on the PS2. I'm also missing some PS3, and I'm missing the first game, which was on PS1. But it's like drastically different, to the point that in Japan, the true Musou series, or whatever the hell they call it, started with Dynasty Warriors 2, because Dynasty Warriors 1 is a different thing, but it's related. So yeah, so their Dynasty Warriors 2 is, or our Dynasty Warriors 2 is their Dynasty Warriors 1. Our Dynasty Warriors 3 is their Dynasty Warriors 2, etc., etc., etc. But I still want to find the PS1 game. So yeah, it's most of the games. I'm not really going to go too deep into them. Although I will point out this one. This is Dynasty Warriors 6. This is an oddity, because Dynasty Warriors 6 was released on the PS3 and Xbox 360. And then about a year later, it got a PS2 port. And so Dynasty Warriors 6 didn't get an Extreme Legends like 3, 4, and 5 did, and like 7 and 8 would in the future. It got this. It got the PS2 version that adds in like a bunch of extra features, and it adds in new movesets for characters that previously only had generic movesets, and then like a whole bunch of stuff. So this is effectively an upgraded version on an older console. It's so bizarre. But yeah, Dynasty Warriors. Lots of them. You're going to see more of them before the end of this video too, so be ready for that. Now that we're out of the realm of Dynasty Warriors for a little bit, Escape from Monkey Island. I adore the Monkey Island games, and I actually really like Escape from Monkey Island in particular. I know that some old school adventure game fans absolutely abhor Escape from Monkey Island and say that this was the death of adventure games, or really that 3D in general was the death of adventure games. But I disagree. I think this is a genuinely really good game. It's funny. It's got some fantastic puzzles. I think that as far as Monkey Island games go, unless you're somebody who's like, I got to play through them in order, this is a good place to start, just because this is a good, like, kind of a beginner adventure game, because the puzzles aren't too difficult, but they're difficult enough to be fun. Either way, it's totally a worthwhile game. I adore it. And the fact that it's on PS2 is awesome. I would play it on PC, but I found a PS2 copy, and so I was like, hey, I forgot that was on PS2. Let's go for it. Let's grab it. Why not? I mean, was it any wonder that I was going to have Final Fantasy X on the PS2? I've said all that I really need to say about this game when I talked about it on the Switch. I love this. I adore this. This was actually one of the first games I ever got for my PS2. When I got my PS2 for Christmas, the year that I did, I got Grand Theft Auto 3, ATV, Off-Road Fury 2, and Final Fantasy X. And of those, I put in a grotesque amount of time on Grand Theft Auto 3. And also Final Fantasy X. Although I didn't beat 10 until I was in college. Because as a high schooler, I kept getting stuck on the Bevel Guardian. Which, to be fair, that is a really pain in the ass boss fight. So I don't really blame myself there. Hey, look, everybody. It's Guitar Heroes on the PS2. So I've got Guitar Hero 1. I think I bought this at a Toys R Us like a really long time ago. Brand new. And I think I've used it maybe twice. Just because like Guitar Hero 1 is really hard to go back to these days. The gameplay engine just, it isn't very good. It's a lot harder of a game, and like hammer-ons and pull-offs are completely broken. So it's one of those things where it's like, I have it to respect where the series began. I wish it wasn't Greatest Hits. I think this is my only Greatest Hits game. But you know, I have it just to have it, really. But then there's this one, which is the Guitar Hero game that time forgot. This is Guitar Hero Encore Rocks the 80s. It was kind of like a pseudo, basically just music disc. They just changed the songs out in Guitar Hero 2 and then gave everything like an 80s paint job. But it's got some really good songs. So definitely worth picking up if you're a fan of Guitar Hero and you still have all your stuff for the PS2, because it's got some really good 80s songs. Like really, really good. When I was a kid, I really loved the Heroes of Might and Magic games on the PC, especially 2 and 3. So when I saw that there was a PS2 game, I figured I'd grab it. However, I've since found out that this is like a remake of a game that wasn't originally a Might and Magic game. And so it doesn't really play like a Heroes of Might and Magic game. It kind of does, but not really. Still though, fun game. Definitely worth the like $7 or whatever that I paid for it. So I don't have any complaints. Now here's 3 games that I'm going to throw together, although I should probably not throw the second game in with it. This is the Kessen trilogy. Kessen is like a real-time strategy game series made by the people who make Dynasty Warriors. Kessen 1 is set in Japan, feudal Japan, the sort of what is it called? Warring States period in Japan. Feudal Japan, you got, Nobunaga, Oda, and all those historical figures that you got to deal with. At least I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong. This one might actually be set in a different time period, but it is at the very least set in feudal Japan. So you got that going for you. Now, Kessen 3 definitely is based upon the story of Nobunaga, Oda, and it is back to feudal Japan. This is the best one in the series, by the way. And also, this one has connectivity with Samurai Warriors for some reason. If you have like save game data from Samurai Warriors and from Samurai Warriors Extreme Legends, you unlock heroes to use in this. Now, if you might have noticed, I skipped over Kessen 2, and that's because Kessen 2, weirdly, is set in the Three Kingdoms era of China. Very much the odd one out of the 3. But it's Kessen. It basically just took what Kessen 1 did and built upon it and set it in China. As if they didn't already have enough games set in that period. The Romance of the Three Kingdoms, Dynasty Warriors, and Dynasty Tactics was going on at this time. But they're just like, no, we're going to throw in another one. It's Kessen 2. Because of reasons. But I like it. It's a lot of fun. These 3 games are a ton of fun. And as someone who grew up playing real-time strategy games, they're a good time. So next up we have this. Now this was originally released as a box set, but I found them loose. But they were in just such pristine condition that I was okay with it. This is the Metal Gear Solid, I believe it's called like the Legacy Collection or something like that. It's Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3. And their cases are all done up to like look nice. They all have like the same sort of color scheme going, and they're colored on the back. This is just Metal Gear Solid 1 for the PS1. It's not like a PS2 version or anything like that, hence why the case has the PS1 banding, but it's in a dual disc DVD case. That's kind of funny. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is the substance release of Metal Gear Solid 2, so it just has like new features and stuff, and it features like a weird skateboarding side game that is kind of fun. And then this is Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, probably the best Metal Gear Solid, arguably. And this is the subsistence release, but without the like bonus discs that came with that version of the game. But it has like some of the upgraded added features. I also have the OG release of Metal Gear Solid 2. If I'm going to play Metal Gear Solid 2, I'm going to play the substance version. So I don't even know why I still have this. Just for the sake of having it, I guess. A little bit ago, we talked briefly about that Wolfenstein game and how it's in this weird, like, legal limbo that'll probably cause it to never be re-released. Sadly, No One Lives Forever is in that same boat. I actually prefer the PC version over the PS2 version. I think I have the PS2 version just cause. But this is a fantastic sort of comedic spy first-person shooter sort of thing. That I think is a game that everyone should play, the No One Lives Forever games. And it bums me out that I feel like these games are going to, they already are pretty obscure. And I feel like as the years go on, this game and its sequel are just going to become more and more forgotten. And that really bums me out because this is one of my favorite games. I absolutely adore the sense of humor in this game. And it's good shooting. The gadgets are super fun to use. And I mean, Kate Archer is one of my favorite women in all of gaming. And Kit Harris does a fantastic job voicing her, at least in the first game. And it's just a real bummer that, her character and her games are going to be forgotten. It's a bummer. Somebody has to figure out all of the legal mumbo jumbo around these games, with Fox Interactive closing down and Sierra closing down and Monolith, being Monolith. Somebody has to figure out who has the rights and figure out a way to release these games, so modern gamers can check them out and have an opportunity to play them without having to, jump on eBay or dig through thrift stores hoping to find a copy of these games physically. Okay, these next ones I'm going to group together, like I do. This is Samurai Warriors, Samurai Warriors Extreme Legends, Samurai Warriors 2 Extreme Legends, and Samurai Warriors 2 Empires. I am missing Samurai Warriors 2, the base game, which is a bummer, but I'll do what I can. This game, Extreme Legends, Samurai Warrior, like over the last month or like two, has exploded in price. That says $24. I didn't pay $24 for it. I wish I did. The rest of them aren't budging. I don't know why Extreme Legends Samurai Warriors has just exploded in interest, apparently. So Samurai Warriors, they're just Dynasty Warriors games, except they're set in feudal Japan. It's fun, though. And remember how I was saying on the Xbox that they didn't release Extreme Legends? Yeah, they didn't. So I had to buy the PS2 copy. Which I mean is fine. I like the game enough that I'm okay with it. Hey, look, everybody, it's Star Wars Starfighter. It's kind of Rogue Squadron-esque, except set in the prequel trilogy, and you're like flying around in a Naboo starfighter. Decent, fun, no complaints. Ah, yes. Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness. I hate this game. Like, straight up, I hate this game. I know that my buddy Steve Awar is, he's always trying to argue nonstop the merits of Angel of Darkness, but I just do not like this game. It's also the last main platform core design Tomb Raider game. There was a long time where we thought that this game killed the franchise, so that should say something. But I added it to my collection fairly recently because I want to complete the core design era of Tomb Raider, and it ended with Angel of Darkness. I feel like this game just tried way too hard to be a movie tie-in without being a movie tie-in. Because like this Lara is a lot closer to the Angelina Jolie version of Lara than the Lara that we got in previous games, and I just didn't jive with it. Didn't work for me. So that's no from me, Chief. I'm going to pair these two games together because I've already talked about them on other systems. It's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and Tony Hawk's Project 8. I'm especially not going to talk about this just because I'm going to put it right there. But I will talk about this one briefly. So Project 8 on the PS2 is a supremely downgraded version of Project 8. So much so that this game actually kind of hurts to play. It is just not a good version of the game. If you're going to play Project 8, if someone tries to tell you to play the PS2 or the PSP version, because they're effectively the same version, slap them really hard in the face because they want nothing but suffering for you. But I got this game for $5, so why not? Here is one of my favorite games on the system. It's War of the Monsters, baby. It's a monster fighting. You play as like sort of these nondescript, totally not Godzilla and totally not King Kong monsters, and just brawl in the middle of a city or desert or whatever the stage that you're playing is. It's a ton of fun. I got this copy, buddy of mine, Owen, for my 18th birthday, bought me the game because I remember playing. A mutual friend of ours had it, and I remember playing it way back in the day. And I just had a ton of fun with it. So when I turned 18, he showed up and he's like, hey, I found a used copy of War of the Monsters for you. And I've had it ever since. And as I said, I love this game. It doesn't get talked about. The people who do talk about it love it, but it does not get talked about enough. So highly recommend it. You get the opportunity to play it, play it. Remember way back in the SNES when I was talking about wizardry? Well, here's another wizardry. Wizardry. Tale of the Forgotten Land or Forsaken Land. You know what I mean. So this is, it's a first person like dungeon crawler kind of thing. It's a wizardry game. This one I prefer over Wizardry 5 on the SNES. Probably because this is the first one that I played, and this is a little bit easier to get through. A little bit easier to understand, a little bit easier to swallow. But as far as RPGs go, it's still on the complicated side. So go into it with a grain of salt. Just know that you're going to probably struggle at least a little bit. But still fun game. So the PS3 was a system that I wasn't really into. I had one back in the day, but at that time I was an Xbox 360 player. That's where I did the majority of my, sort of multi-platform gaming, if it wasn't on the PC, of course. So I don't have a ton of them, but I do have a few that we're going to go through. I've actually gotten more since becoming an adult than when I was in college when the PS3 was relevant. So this is Backbreaker. This is a non-NFL football game. And what gets me about this game is that every game or every team that is in here, you have to make yourself. It has a really good team maker, but you have to make all of the teams yourself. Which every time that I do it, I'll name them I'll have the Xanark and Abes and I'll have teams that are based off of a whole bunch of fictional cities, just because to me that's it's cool. But I don't like the gameplay. Maybe it's because I'm so used to how Madden plays that when I get into this, I'm just kind of I'm not about it. I have fun during the team building, and then after that, I kind of just stop. Good try, though. You knew this was coming. It's Dynasty Warriors games on the PS3. I've got Dynasty Warriors 6, the base game. Remember, I was talking about 6 on the PS2. 6 Empires, 7 Extreme Legends, 8 Extreme Legends, and the PS3 version of that Strike Force PSP game that I already had. I am missing out of this. I am missing Dynasty Warriors 7 Empires and Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires. The reason why I'm missing 7 Empires is because it was released digital only in North America. So the only way for me to get an English language version of it physically, I have to buy it from either Australia or England, which would mean I would have to mod my PS3 to be region free to be able to play it. I'm going to, it's on my list, but it's also worth pointing out that for me to get that would be $50. So it's hard for me to swallow that pill when the Dynasty Warriors games, I joke about it, but let's be real, they're all effectively just the same game, largely. And 8 Empires, I just don't have it. I just don't. I have it on Steam, so if I need to capture footage, I can at least do that. But I do want a physical copy of it, and I will get it at some point. But because I have it on Steam, it's super low priority for me. So, also, can we talk about 8 Extreme Legends? It's one of the weird blue border or blue banner PS3 games. Did you know that they did that? When the PS4 came out, there was a while where PS3 games had a blue banner. It's bizarre, and it really screws up the look of my collection. Hey, look, everybody. It's Final Fantasy X 10-2 HD Remaster. As far as Final Fantasy games go, I also have Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn. This is how I first played the MMO, was on PS3. I very quickly moved over to PC. But because I had this on PS3, this is why I now theoretically could play it on PS4 and PS5. I don't need to, but I could. It's connected to my account. It says it's hey, you've got the PlayStation version, so you could do it. I can't use this version anymore because they sundowned support for the PS3 version of the game, but I could. And also because the code's already used, this is a paperweight. This is just plastic waste at this point. But I keep it in my collection just kind of to go, oh yeah, that's how I played it. Remember when everyone was really into Heavy Rain? This is an interactive movie, basically. It's the director's cut, so it's got the move support, but who cares? I gotta say, I really liked Indigo Prophecy or Fahrenheit. Not the biggest fan of Heavy Rain. It's okay, I suppose. Oh, hey, it's the return of that price sticker. Oh, and it's the Infamous collection. Yeah. Infamous 1 and 2 are some of my favorite games on the console. I absolutely adore these games. I just have so much fun with them. Yeah, it's brilliant. I would say if you have never played the Infamous games, these are an easy recommendation from me. And you can get the collection, which comes with 1 and 2, for basically nothing. And I am like 99% sure that this used copy, the code for Festival of Blood, was not used when I bought it. And so since the PS3 store is still up for now, I was able to redeem that, which is cool. It's like a vampire-focused like side story to the second game. Not necessary because it's non-canon, but Infamous 1 and 2 are really, really good. So check those out. So remember when I was talking about Injustice 2 and I said that I stupidly will buy the NetherRealm games like day one, and when I really should just be waiting for the complete edition? I did it with Injustice 1 as well. This is Jeopardy! Oh, now I'm sad. Yeah, this was a game that I bought with my girlfriend at the time to play. And now I look at it and I see Alex Trebek and I get sad. Bummer. This game is not in great shape, but it's Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Fate of Two Worlds. I got really into this game for about a single afternoon, and then I don't think I touched it again. Also, I bought it like that. And I hate myself for it. So I really like Metal Gear Solid. As you've seen, I've talked about the other games in the franchise. So of course I have Metal Gear Solid 4. But this isn't the way that I play the game now. I play this version. The Complete Legacy Collection. This comes with Metal Gear, so the NES game. Actually, it's the MSX version. Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, which we didn't get in North America. Or we did, but like way later on. Metal Gear Solid VR missions are downloadable codes in this. And then it comes with all of the stuff that the HD remasters came with. So that's Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 3, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, and the like visual novel remakes of Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2, or retellings. And then it also comes with Metal Gear Solid 4. So basically it's just, I don't want to show that code. It's basically disc 1 is the HD collection, and then disc 2 is Metal Gear Solid 4. So when I play Metal Gear Solid 4, I play this version. Although this version is near and dear to my heart because this was actually my first PS3 game. So I bought my PS3 used from a friend, and I bought this along with it. I love this game. Although I can beat it in like 50 minutes now, or some crazy short amount of time, because I just know it so well. And also on top of that, if you're skipping cutscenes, I think there's only like maybe an hour of gameplay anyways. Oh, hey, look, it's NCAA Football 12. Yeah, I'm going to play that. Oh, no, it's actually Gran Turismo 5 Prologue. Yeah, I don't know why. So this game was $5, so I bought it just because. This is PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. This is PlayStation's like attempt to take on Smash Brothers that totally failed. It's a fun game. It's fine. I don't hate it, but I totally understand why it's $5. Remember Me. This is a game that I remember the premise of it really intrigued me, but I actually have yet to play it. So I don't have much to say about this. The Walking Dead, the Telltale series. This is a complete first season plus 400 days. I don't think any game has ever made me cry harder than the first season of The Walking Dead. It's so good. It really went downhill from there. I did season 2. And then after that, I was like, I couldn't be bothered to play through season 3 or anything like that. So at some point, maybe I'll go back and I'll finish the series. I do know that, it is pretty good and it has its merits. But to me, season 1, that's where it's at. And the last game in my collection is actually out of order alphabetically because of just like the sheer girth of the case, and that's why I keep it kind of off on its own. This is Legend of Heroes Trail of Cold Steel, or Trails of Cold Steel. Trails of Cold Steel. I bought this used from a GameStop in its like collector's edition, and it's complete. Everything is in there. I think it was like $20 at the time, and now this is really hard to come by. It comes with the base game, You know, it's just the basic game. And art book, which, I mean, if you're really into waifus, you're going to enjoy the hell out of this, which, I mean, there's a reason why I bought the game. And then it has this weird box, and in the box there's a pin, but the box also specifically says, remove this spacer box to make room in your collector's case for the sequel. Complete the saga with Trails of Cold Steel 2. That's a lie. You aren't completing the saga, because I'm pretty sure they're up to like Trails of Cold Steel 4 at this point. So yeah, you might have completed the first 2 games, but then there's 2 others, bro. But I don't have Trails of Cold Steel 2. At some point, maybe I will, just to have it in there. But I am super happy that I have this. I really do like the game. Although I bought it just simply because I was like, hey, a JRPG, there's some like waifus, something about like, you know, relationships with people, and the fact that it was like a collector's edition for like $20, I was like, sure. So I have that because reasons. Okay. I know this has been a very long video. It's been a crazy long video for me to edit. I'm sorry, future John. But we are finally down to the last home console. And after this, we just have portable games to go through, and then we will be good to go. And that'll be relatively quick. But right now, we're going to take a look at the PlayStation 4. First up, we have Call of Duty Infinite Warfare Legacy Edition, or whatever. I'll be honest with you, I bought this for Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered. I don't really actually care about Call of Duty, but I do have a lot of fond memories of the Modern Warfare trilogy. 1, 2, and 3 were just a ton of fun. I don't really care about the multiplayer. The multiplayer isn't for me. So, you know, I wasn't really there for it. But a remastered version of probably my favorite game in the series, I'm here, sold. Next up is a recent pickup. This is Dissidia, or however the hell you say that. Final Fantasy NT. It's like Final Fantasy's fighting game. I liked the PSP games back in the day. I haven't really put in any time with the PS4 version, although it's got my boy Ramza from Final Fantasy Tactics in it, so I am here for it. What you want? You're gonna buzz while I'm recording. You want to say something? So next up is this. I literally only bought this because it was dirt cheap, and the fact that it was the deluxe edition just made me laugh. This is the deluxe edition of Final Fantasy 15. I bought it used for I think it was like $6 or $7. The cool thing, it includes that like Kingsglaive movie or whatever, and it's got a steel case, although this steel case is somebody ripped off the edge, so it's taped closed. So that's cool. But it's Final Fantasy 15. I don't really like that game that much. Although I will say, I like, before I can really pass judgment, I should probably at least beat it. But the like 7 or 8 hours that I played of it didn't thrill me. But it's Final Fantasy 15, so, you know, and it's a steelbook. And I do like the Amano artwork on the front. So at least there's that. I bought this game for $20. And it is like one of the best $20 I think I've ever spent. God of War on the PS4 is a fantastic game, and I cannot sing its praises enough. That being said, I haven't beaten it yet. Because I got stuck on a part, and I didn't have time to really get into trying to hammer through it. If I sat down, I probably could. Although at this point, it's been so long that if I were to go back to play this, I'm just going to start over. So I probably will before Ragnarok comes out. I am so incredibly happy that I got a copy of this. This is Gravity Rush 2. Gravity Rush is a series that, well, there's only 2 games, but basically you play as this girl who can like manipulate gravity. It's like a really weird sort of premise, but it intrigues me so much that I had to buy this game. And I've been on the lookout for Gravity Rush 1 remastered for the PS4. Problem is copies of it range from $80 to $150. So yeah, I'm going to be looking for that for a while before I probably finally pull the trigger on it. But Gravity Rush 2 is only like $30. So, but still, it's harder to find. So I'm happy that I was able to get it. This is a fantastic game, or at least I've been told it's a fantastic game because I haven't played it yet. I got this with my PS4. When I bought my PS4, it came with like 3 games, and I think this was one of them. And I just haven't played it yet. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, the game's brilliant. Why haven't I played it yet? I haven't had time. I'm going to. It's on my list. Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition. So I'll get to it. This was another game that came with my PS4, and I played about halfway and then I stopped. It's Infamous Second Son. I love the Infamous games, but this one, I think without Cole McGrath, I'm just not really here for it. Although I will sit down and I will beat this game eventually, but I just without my boy McGrath, I don't know. It feels kind of soulless. I need Zeke. That's actually who I need. I need my buddy Zeke. Kingdom Hearts. The story so far. I remember way back in the day on the PS2 playing Kingdom Hearts and having a good time with it. And then I sat down to play Kingdom Hearts 2 and I was already lost. I already felt like there was stuff that I was missing and I didn't fully understand what was going on. And I kind of fell off the series at that point. And I was just sort of like, you know what? Kingdom Hearts, I'm not really here for you. But with Kingdom Hearts 3 coming, I was like, you know what? Okay, I'll pick it back up and I'll play through at least 1 and 2 and I'll watch the movie versions of the games that they don't have playable in this collection. And I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just, Kingdom Hearts isn't for me. But then when I saw Kingdom Hearts 3 for $10, I had to get it because I already had everything else. So I might as well finish it. Oh, the joys of being a game collector. This was the third game that came with my PS4 for free, and that is The Last of Us Remastered. What is there to say about the first Last of Us that hasn't been said a billion times? This is like a multi-award winning game, so I'm not even really going to get into it. I played it on the PS3. I haven't played the PS4 version yet. I assume it's basically the same thing, only prettier. It's The Last of Us. Ratchet & Clank is a sort of like pseudo remake, reboot, reimagining kind of thing of the first game. I bought this for $5 brand new. I love the Ratchet & Clank games, and so I saw that price and I was like, hell yeah, I can't complain about that. And yeah, it's fun. It's Ratchet & Clank. There's, no complaints here. Oh boy, it's a Warriors game on PS4. This is Samurai Warriors 4 Empires. I did a review of this game, and you can check that out on the channel. Maybe if I'm smart, I'll put up a card. But yeah, it's Empires and Samurai Warriors 4. Yeah. I bought this game brand new for like $10, sealed, well after it came out, and yet it's still day one edition. This is Torment Tides of Numenera, or Numenaria, or whatever. This was like a kickstarted RPG based off of the Numenaria setting. I haven't played it yet. It uses the Pillars of Eternity engine, so it kind of plays just like that game. It's apparently the #1 most funded RPG on Kickstarter, but it is the day one edition, and it comes with all the fancy day one edition stuff like the map, some DLC, the soundtrack, all kinds of stuff. It's fancy. Maybe if I play it and I like it, that'll make it worth it, but it's only $10, so apparently this game didn't sell super well despite being big on Kickstarter. Because if it got to be that cheap, yeah. And finally, the game that I think that every PS4 owner has, or at least has played, Until Dawn. It's a, kind of pseudo interactive movie horror game. Your choices matter, blah, blah, blah. You know what Until Dawn is. It's good. It's fun. One of these days, I'm going to sit down with my friends and we're going to play through it. Although most of my friends have already seen it. But I'm sure that, you know what? I'm going to sit down with my family and we're going to do this because they certainly have not seen it. And it will be fun to scare the piss out of my mother, who just does not do horror at all. So that'll be brilliant. Although it will be very hard to convince her to be okay with doing it. So I'll figure out a way. Okay, so next up, these are the Nintendo portable games. At least it's the DS and 3DS line games. I have my binder for Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games, but I don't know how to do that with this format. So I might do a video later on about those. The Game Boy Advance is actually the system that I hunt for the second most. Like Xbox is my primary and then Game Boy is the secondary. But the Game Boy is also the system that I have the most like reproductions and bootlegs and stuff on. So it's going to get its own video. So we're going to wrap this up with the DS and 3DS. So starting off, I've got a Nintendo Selects Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time for the 3DS. It's Ocarina of Time. This is another one that I really don't have to say anything. Although I will say that I vastly prefer the 3DS version over the N64 version. It's just got so many quality of life changes that just, if you're going to play Ocarina of Time, play it on the 3DS. It just makes things a little bit easier. Next up, we've got Super Mario Maker for the 3DS. Everything that I had to say about Mario Maker 2 on the Switch also applies to this. Yeah, it's Mario Maker. And I was very intrigued by the ability to make levels and things of that nature. I actually made quite a few with this version because I don't have the Wii U version, so this is what I had. I made quite a few levels, and then I remembered I was like, oh yeah, there's no way for me to share this or like have anybody else ever play this. So what's the point? There isn't none. Okay, so now we get into the Pokemans. So we've got Pokemon Platinum version. So fun thing about this, you might be looking at that and go, wow, that looks really legit. There's like, you know, the cartridge isn't in here, but like it's got the manual and it's got all the warranty stuff. And like, man, that's a complete copy of Platinum. I bought this brand new sealed, $20, knowing 100% full well that this was a complete and total reproduction. However, this is a damn good reproduction. Even so far as like the sealed wrapping had like the Nintendo silkscreen like logo around it and all kinds of stuff. It is very well done. You have to look very close to see any pixelation on that case or anything. And the cartridge is the same way. You got to like get like real up there to be able to tell that it's not real. But yeah, it's Pokemon Platinum. I bought this just fully because I was like, you know what? I want to play through Platinum and I don't care about like transferring my Pokemon or anything like that. So, you know, I'll just grab whatever is the cheapest. And I found it and I was like, oh, that's neat. So I grabbed it and I'm really happy that I did. Generation 4 was a generation that kind of skipped me. I played Generation 3 and then I kind of like stopped playing Pokemon for a long time. And then next thing I know, it was Generation 5 and I was like, oh, what happened to Generation 4? So I figured I should play through it. I also have Pearl, but that's back in Oregon. I have a few portable games that are in Oregon. And yeah, so Pokemon Platinum. Next up, we got Pokemon White. I'm just kidding. It's Pokemon Black. Why do I have Pokemon Black in a Pokemon White case? Well, I got Pokemon Black cart loose, and then a buddy of mine was moving, and he was like, hey, I've randomly got a case for Pokemon White. Do you want it? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Maybe if I ever get White loose, I'll have a complete. But for now, it's holding on to my Black. In that same situation, he also gave me a case for Pokemon Soul Silver, which I actually do have the game for. So I now have a complete Pokemon Soul Silver base release, not the Pokewalker release, which makes this the most expensive game in my collection, according to PriceCharting.com, at least. But Soul Silver is my favorite Pokemon game by far. Gold and Silver were my favorite games, and then when they remade them, they just upped the ante so much that I was like, sold. I'm here for this. So Soul Silver is my favorite Pokemon game. That being said, the feature that most people say is like what makes Soul Silver and Heart Gold, I don't really care about, and that is the Pokemon following you. Honestly, if I could turn it off, I probably would. Like, it's just one of those things where I'm like, oh, that's cute, and then I stop caring 5 minutes into it. Maybe that's just me, but, you know, still fantastic versions of the games. You know, they took my favorite Pokemon games and upgraded it in every conceivable way. So, of course, I love it. As I said, I do have a binder full of Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games here. I might be showing some footage over top of this that's just like a quick scan through. I'll probably do a video talking about like what's what in here, because I've got quite a few oddities in here that just like really stick out and I think are really worth talking about at greater length. So, but I'll show it to you at least a little bit here so that you can see what I've got in this binder. But outside of that, that was my game collection. I also have like my consoles and things of that nature, which if you want to see, maybe I'll do a video later. But for now, that was the game collection. If you like this video, be sure to give me a like. If you made it all the way through, if you made it to here, I want you to leave a comment that says, I am the walrus, kook chew. And, you know, no one else will understand what the hell you are talking about, but we'll know. Well, it'll be our little like secret because you made it into this hella long video. This is probably going to be hours. I've been recording for like 7 hours. Woof. So, you know, please like this video, please subscribe. And if you want to see more content like this, just let me know. And yeah, and I'll probably do it. I'll have some reviews of some of these games coming in the future, so be sure to look out for that. Otherwise, guys and gals, I hope you have a good rest of your day, and have a good one.